This feudal lord is highly scientific. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 351 Yale's ability. Pisces. Other people from the forest hut next to the bushes ahead. Lin Ke used a group viewing spell. In the distance, there was a bush of medium size. This place was in the northwest of Feudal. Further northwest were high mountains with little moisture, so there were low bushes like this. And around the bushes, there were no people, only some grass swaying in the wind. No one. Lin Ke narrowed his eyes and raised his hand to point over there. Skill. Scattering. Optical scattering. In his perception, the light was telling him that there were people there. Under optics, unless it was dark, he would definitely sense it. So, the power of scholar in Lin Ke's body boiled up, and the skill 0 degree continuously absorbed heat into his body and then released it in that direction. A strong hot wind blew over, and the few small grasses over there quickly withered and turned yellow under this hot wind. At the same time, a force of obstruction appeared. Along with that obstruction, a group of people appeared in front of Lin Ke. Phaser people. Want to use cannon fodder to consume them? Lin Ke raised his eyebrows. These Phaser people look like ordinary people, without any power in their bodies, and they are dusty, and like walking corpses. Lin Ke, that is the power of the forest hut. Lin Ke also came forward to tell Lin Ke the situation on the other side. Suddenly, Lin Ke saw several deer people over there. Is it the forest hut, where your bloodline comes from? Lin Ke was curious. Do they still hate you? Maybe. Lin Ke looked indifferent. I just paid back what I owed my mother. My mother gave me the rules, and they hated me instead. Lin Ke's bloodline came from the forest hut, and there was also a torture story, but that was a matter of the previous generation. In short, the forest hut is one of the forces in the far west countries, mainly formed by some nature-loving races. There are many legends among them, about 10 or so, which can be regarded as a relatively strong force in the far west countries. Almost all the star level people who came in this time were in the forest hut. What should we do with these people? Kill them all? Lin Ke looked at Lin Ke. He was not referring to the Phaser people, but the people in the forest hut. Kill them. Lin Ke didn't care. Those who are not hostile to me are those who truly agree with the way of nature. They will not come in. Okay. Lin Ke nodded slightly, then raised the thunder wrist ball in his hand high, and thunder gushed out with lava. Needless to say, all the people in the Great Wilderness Knights and their mounts boiled up the Knights' power. Yale, is there a way? Lin Ke pointed to the cannon fodder of the Phaser refugees in front of him and laughed loudly. Master, there is. Yale immediately understood and answered Lin Ke. Suddenly, the Great Wilderness Knights moved. Lin Ke took the lead, followed by his followers, and behind him were the knights. After John connected everyone as a whole, Yale immediately threw the chessboard into the air, and the light in his eyes was dazzling. He uttered 3 words, fisses. Suddenly, black and white chess pieces fell on everyone's head, guiding and pulling. So, the knights, who seemed to be one, were separated one after another, as if they had turned into fish in the water. But the power of each knight was erratic. Sophie, Rami, Yale shouted, speed and agility. Sophie and Rami understood immediately. A magic guitar appeared in Rami's hand, and Sophie opened Sophie's music score in her hand. 2 clear whistles sounded. Suddenly, the Great Wilderness Knights, who had already charged, were faster than each other. Hundreds of miles, in an instant. The knights rushed into the panicked crowd of Phaser, but the expected blood and flesh did not appear. I'm not dead. What's going on? The Phaser refugees were unbelievable. The Great Wilderness Knights were like entering an empty space, passing by the refugees, and rushing towards the deer men who were like supervisors. Lin Ke took the lead, and rushed towards the deer man in the center. Capture the thief first. Yale stayed behind, with a constant stream of white light in his eyes. He was paying attention to the battlefield. When someone encountered a deerman, he poured all his strength onto the knight, allowing the knight to suppress the deerman and quickly win. The situation became favorable at the beginning. However, the average level of the people in the Great Wilderness Knights was no more than level 10. Although they were very powerful when gathered together, the level of the opponents was above level 15. Fortunately, if the battle could be resolved quickly, it would not have much impact. However, the deadman in the forest hut did not surrender. Natural domain. In the middle, the cold voice of the Deerman Saint came from afar. She threw a green arrow into the sky, and the arrow flew high into the sky, turning into green wind as it flew. The wind was very fast, and blew around almost instantly. When the wind blew on the Gobiel land, small flowers and grasses grew up. These small flowers and grasses grew very fast. At first, they looked like small flowers and grasses, but they grew wildly. These flowers and grasses grew in the position of people, turning into bloodthirsty plants, wrapping up the refugees of Phaser one by one. Many refugees were sucked clean before they could even scream. A steady stream of Phaser refugees fell and became nutrients for the Saint of the Deer Man. Even the flowers and plants would attack the people of the Great Wilderness Knights. Fortunately, the people of the Great Wilderness Knights had the benefits of the Phaser gods, so they were not affected much. Good fellow, Lin Ke, how come this doe is more evil than you? Lin Ke frowned. Can you restrain her? Although he would not pity the refugees at this time. After all, kindness cannot lead to an army, but there lives after all, and these refugees seem to boff the doe. That's the star level. Lin Ke rolled her eyes at Lin Ke, then gritted her teeth and said, but I can try. Kill her as soon as possible. After that, Lin Ke let out a sharp scream, and the light in her green eyes became weird. Under the surge of her magic power, some flowers and plants did not continue to devour the refugees, but attacked other flowers and plants instead. Lin Ke quickly rode the lava lion and rushed over, waving his fist, holding the thunder wrist ball in his fist. Doe, die. Lin Ke's power boiled up, and he punched down with boundless momentum. The Saint of the Deer Man is right in front of him. However, at this moment, a sneer appeared on the corner of the Saint of the Deer Man's mouth. The 4 deer men beside him raised their heads high at the same time and hit Lin Ke's body fiercely. The Saint of the Deer Man waved his hand and threw a green seed. The seed touched Lin Ke's fist, ignored the power of thunder and lava, and instantly grew, turning into a vine that wrapped Lin Ke. Deliberate ambush. Chapter 352. There is always a mountain higher than another. Ambush. There was an ambush. However, the expected surprise did not appear, and Lin Ke was not panicked at all, and continued to punch down. Ambush. I had expected it long ago. In the sky, a star suddenly appeared. The inside of the star was a fiery red, as if it was an endless burning fire area. The kingdom of the god of fire. A tall and majestic figure with blazing flames on his body appeared in the kingdom of God and waved the giant sword in his hand towards this side. The vines on Lin Ke's body broke inch by inch in an instant, and groups of pure blue flames poured down from the sky, like meteorites falling from the sky. The blue flame was extremely hot, and it passed through the sky, leaving black space cracks, and instantly came to the ground from the kingdom of the god of fire. One ball of fire corresponds to 1 deer man. Lin Ke knew that these enemies were well prepared and knew his abilities very well. In this case, how could Lin Ke fight alone? Sure enough, the flames fell rapidly, each corresponding to a deerman. The flames corresponding to the deerman around Lin Ke were particularly large, and there were even signs of whitening in the center of the flames. Boom. Lin Ke's body was hit hard by the horns of the 4 deermen, and his body flew backwards, spitting out blood. It was not so easy to bear the full force attack of 1 level 18 and 3 level 17. However, the 4 deermen and the Deerman Saint also injured the attack of the god of fire. Soul flame. Soul. Damn it. How can the natives of Face master the power of soul? Except for the Deerman Saint, the other deerman wailed. Soul? Lin Ke got up from the ground, glanced at the figure that was gradually disappearing in the sky, and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Looking back, the 3 level 17 deermen were shaking in their breath and wanted to get rid of the burning flames, but the green light on their bodies became the fuel for the flames. On the other hand, the star level Deerman Saint and the level 18 Deerman were still unscathed under the burning flames. Level 18 is for epic warriors. Above epic, if you have mastered at least 1 complete divine nature, you will not be afraid of soul attacks, or at least you will have a way to deal with them. At this moment, the star level Deer Saint raised her 2 slender forelimbs high and stomped heavily on the ground. 5 plants that looked like man-eating plants broke out of the ground and took a deep breath at the 3 wailing deer people, the epic level deer people and herself. The soul flame was immediately sucked into the mouth of the man-eating plant, and the man-eating plant burst into flames, and the burning body turned into ashes, and sank into the soil. However, Lin Ke's fist also appeared in her vision. Lin Ke seized the opportunity, and rushed over again in these few seconds. The thunder wrist force ball in his fist rotated at a high speed, and the law of power was running, bringing great kinetic energy, and a terrifying sound of breaking through the air was heard. Leaf defense. The deer saint also reacted quickly, and pieces of emerald green leaves floated around her, forming an egg-shaped protective shield. However, although the thunder wrist power ball was sealed to the starlight level, the lightning and lava that came with it were not for the sake of special effects. In Lin Ke's fist wind, lightning shot out one after another, and the leaves immediately turned into powder after being touched. The same was true for lava. Lin Ke's fist broke through the protection of the leaves and hit the exquisite and beautiful chin of the deer man saint with a hook. The power law carried by the thunder wrist power ball shot out, and the power directly took the deer man saint flying. It seems that you are the forest saint corresponding to the son of the forest, right? The deer man saint just flew up, and Lin Ke's left hand grabbed forward, grabbed the deer man saint's front hoof, and pulled the deer man saint back. He smiled and said, "Let you insult my wife, let you say my wife, let you be the saint." As he said, Lin Ke's right fist hit the deer man saint's cheek with the terrifying kinetic energy of the thunder wrist power ball. The most aggressive people in this forest hut are the son of the forest and the saint of the forest. These two people are always shouting that, if it weren't for Lin Ke, they would have achieved greater success, and they could reach a higher level with the help of the blood of the Emerald Tree Court. If it weren't for the Emperor Wumian and the five-colored dragon mother, these two people would even want to eat Lin Ke alive when she was a few years old. Lin Ke and Lin Ke had said something, so she remembered it in her heart. If it weren't for the five-colored dragon mother who gave you the laws she had comprehended, you would have died long ago. In the end, the five-colored dragon mother took away her own laws, and you still shouted. Lin Ke sneered at such people, and punched the deer man saint on the cheek. It must be said that the existence of the star glory level is really thick-skinned. After fighting for a long time, Lin Ke's hands were a little numb, but the deer man saint was only slightly scratched. How dare you? The deer man saint was stunned by Lin Ke's punch at first, and just reacted at this time. She was extremely ashamed and angry. Her body just shook, and a string of leaves flew out of her antlers, directly knocking Lin Ke away. However, Lin Ke laughed twice. Want to steal Lin Ke's things? Don't let your things be stolen. The deer saint was startled, and her breath was disordered. Not far away, Lin Ke was floating in the air with a bottle made of gems in her hand. Order potion. Forest saint? Lin Ke's green eyes were full of indifference. Her hands fell naturally, and her right hand held her pink staff. On the ground, a steady stream of green mist poured into her mouth, and her lips were bright red. When the forest saint looked at Lin Ke in horror, Lin Ke's pair of green eyes also looked over. Emerald absorption. Lin Ke pointed the staff in her hand at the forest saint, and uttered these words from her beautiful red lips. Don't think about absorbing my. The forest saint kicked her limbs, and was about to stand up. Yours is natural, and what is natural is ours. Seeing this, Lin Ke punched the forest saint on the chin again, and the thunder wrist power ball buzzed and seemed very excited. The forest saint was stunned. On the other side, my sledgehammer, sweeping in all directions. Lalita held the sledgehammer and smashed the 18th level deer man wildly with great excitement, with a cruel smile on her face. Nyx shuddered when he accidentally saw his wife like this. He was facing 3 17th level deer men. He always released a steady stream of toxins, which were all treasured toxins he had collected over the years. The lava lion he rode was also the fastest. When fighting with the 3 deer men, even the corner of Nyx's clothes could not be touched. Lin Ke came prepared. Everyone knew his strength, and everyone had attacks against him. But no one thought that he was willing to use his own injury in exchange for the full force of the god of fire, and no one knew that the god of fire's attack was a strange soul flame. So, Lin Ke was also able to absorb the star level forest saint here. Lin Ke and Lin Ke had discussed that among so many hostile forces, the forest saint was actually a difficult group to deal with. However, Lin Ke was going to be promoted to level 15. She needed a tonic. Chapter 353, Lin Ke's elemental body. In the sky, Lin Ke and the forest saint floated, facing each other from a distance. However, one of them had a weird smile on her face, while the other was terrified. The forest saint kicked her 4 hooves in panic, and her mouth opened wide, but she could not make any sound. Streams of green light flowed out of her body, and then gathered into Lin Ke's body. Lin Ke's green eyes became more and more weird, and her skin became looming. She was about to break through. When she reached level 15, her body would break through in 2 directions. One was the elemental body, and the other was the law body. The elemental body was the most common, and the law body was 1 in a million. Of course, according to Lin Ke's original words, being strong or not had little to do with the elemental body or the law body. For example, her mother, the 5-colored dragon mother, was a powerful elemental body, but she could still basically sweep away the contemporary invincible. So Lin Ke understood that Lin Ke's meaning was equivalent to whether you could make money or not, which had little to do with a junior high school degree or a graduate degree. A junior high school degree could make you rich, but a graduate degree could also make you poor. However, how many junior high school students can be as cool as a 5-colored dragon mother? Therefore, Lin Ke thinks that it is still necessary to achieve the law body in one go. However, the difficulty of achieving the law body is also notoriously difficult. To achieve the law body, you must master a certain law. And mastering a law means at least being an epic level strongman. The epic level strongman strengthens and comprehends this law, and when he fully masters it, he will become a star level strongman. After becoming a star level strongman, it will be even more difficult to become a legendary strongman. After level 15, you start to touch the law. The 18th level epic level can condense the divinity of the law. This divinity of the law is similar to the divinity of walking the path of the gods, but it is essentially different. The 20th level star level, at least one law divinity, with the help of the power of the law divinity, breaks through the bottleneck from level 19 to level 20. If you want to cross the threshold of legend, you need to let the law divinity condense into the body and merge with the elemental body or the law body. After fusion, the great power belongs to oneself, and it is a legend. Of course, if there are many law divinities condensed, you need to choose one of them to merge into the body. After becoming a legend, the more laws you have, the higher your level will be. The same is true for gods. When you touch divinity, master divinity, condense divinity, and turn divinity into godhood, you become a god. Elemental body means that your body may be compatible with a certain element in the future. For example, Lin Ke's compatible element in the future will become plant-like element, completely isolated from other element. It's not that you can't comprehend other element. You can still do it part-time, but your physique determines that it will be twice the result with half the effort. The law body is different. Even if you become a law body, it still does not affect your comprehending other laws and element. This is why the law body is so powerful. At this time, Lin Ke had already prepared. The power of nature? It's just right for me to control it. Lin Ke chuckled, gently moved the fingers holding the staff, and then let out a silent scream. The scream turned into a shockwave and attacked the forest saint on the opposite side, but the forest saint could not resist at all. Suddenly, the forest saint's eyes turned white, her body twitched, and 2 balls of sand-like things were sucked out of her head by Lin Ke. The 2 balls of sand were floating in the air, like a small sand waterfall in the air. They were the 2 balls of divinity of the forest saint. Natural force and green leaves. The 2 balls of divinity were floating, emitting little star-like radiance. Lin Ke did not choose the path of the law body, but chose the elemental body. According to her, she was not interested in anything else. If the elemental body could not successfully break through to the legendary level, then the law body would probably not be able to do so. Of course, Lin Ke knew that Lin Ke was just lazy. Breaking through to the legendary level would basically make it unlikely that she would die of old age. Even if the plane was destroyed, the legendary could travel in the star realm and find the next plane to continue to survive. With Lin Ke's talent, if she worked hard, it should be no problem for her to break through to the legendary level. After all, Wu Mian and the others had already paved the way for her, and the 2 balls of divinity were the nutrients for Lin Ke's breakthrough. The 2 balls of law divinity left the body of the forest saint, and the forest saint fell like a dried corpse. A dignified star-level existence originally wanted to kill Lin Ke to extract her blood, but she didn't expect to be sucked dry by Lin Ke in the end. How miserable. Lin Ke looked at the mummy on the ground and rubbed his hairless chin. In the eyes of the onlookers, this was a bit terrifying. This mummy was sucked dry by Rika alive. The audience had a sentence in their minds. There are only cows that die of exhaustion, but no land that is plowed to death. Rika shouldn't use the skill emerald absorption at that time, right? Otherwise, what will happen to their lord? Lin Ke didn't know what those people were thinking, but went forward to collect the body of the forest saint. Now there is a live broadcast. It is not easy to check the relics of the saint. Wait until Rika breaks through. And Rika is at a critical moment at this time, and two groups of divinity are gradually sucked into her mouth. These two groups of divinity have a huge attraction to everyone, but they can restrain themselves. After all, they are in the opposite direction of themselves. And after absorbing the divinity, Rika seemed not enough, and waved her hand to control all the people in the surrounding forest huts. The order potion raised Rika's level by several levels, directly reaching a level of nearly 17. In addition, her bloodline Broom Shepherd Banshee is one of the branches of the Emerald Tree Court bloodline, which has an extremely strong suppression on natural bloodlines. Just like on the same piece of land, the taller and bigger the tree is, the more likely it is to take root and absorb nutrients, while the small tree can only struggle to survive. Under Lika's absolute control, the others are fine, but these few deer people who follow the natural way are suppressed. Emerald draw. Lika didn't even need to scream this time, just hooked her finger, and dozens of deer people flew up, including the 4 deer people who were burned and seriously injured before. They struggled frantically, and there seemed to be other laws in the bodies of 1 or 2 deer people, but they were sucked dry before they could be used. Is it worth it to exchange an expensive bottle of order potion for a group of even more expensive deer people? Maybe there is still a little difference in the price. The order potion is not something that ordinary people can make, and there are star level strongmen everywhere. However, these are deer slaves after all, especially female deer slaves from Nazang, plus Lika's breakthrough. If you think about it, it's not a big loss. After absorbing these deer men, Lika closed her eyes and slowly fell down, but she still frowned and whispered, "Not enough." Lika looked at Lin Ke, who nodded immediately. He took out a rotten piece of wood from his arms. Artifact fragments. Chapter 354. Great Unification. This is the artifact fragment left by the King of Gods, Zernathal, which Lin Ke obtained after completing the task. At first, this artifact fragment could only speed up his meditation, but after being upgraded, it could help him better understand the laws, and gradually had a trace of the divine will of the real artifact. But at this time, Lin Ke took it out without hesitation. He saw that Lika was about to break through, but she broke through directly to the law body. A mere elemental body should be full after a star level. But Lika was still not full after this. Obviously she was going to break through to the law body. Lin Ke took out the rotten wood from the space ring, not afraid of the people on the other end of the live broadcast seeing it. After all, it was just a fragment. Those who could beat him would not look down on the fragment, and those who couldn't beat him would not covet it. And it was estimated that not many people could recognize it. The rotten wood was floated over by Lika's hand, and a terrifying dark green light burst out from it. Lika broke through. Lin Ke and a group of followers protected the law, and the Knights of the Great Wilderness Knights began to rectify the order of the refugees. These refugees were brought here by the deer people. Their feet were worn out, and they were extremely hungry. There were originally hundreds of thousands of them, and almost all of them starved to death. According to the thinking of these deer people, these people will die anyway. Their birth is due to nature, and their death can add fertilizer to nature. How good. The survivors are naturally grateful to Lin Ke and his men. Lin Ke and his men did not hurt them at all during the charge, because of Yale's swimming fish formation. The name of the Great Wilderness Lord's kindness and friendliness is resounding throughout Father and even Nazam. Of course, the blonde green-eyed woman who sucked the deer people dry is still quite scary. The refugees were gathered, and will probably be stuffed into various cities in the future to become new urban residents. After a while, Lika finally absorbed enough nutrients, and her body began to transform from head to toe. As for the artifact fragments and rotten wood blocks, there was not much change. Lin Ke took them, and looked at them. As long as they were warmed up for a while, they would be fine. Lika's transformation was also very fast. Her body looked the same, but in fact, everything from the cell nucleus to the skin epidermis had changed. Lin Ke didn't know the details. In the future, this would be a subject he would invest heavily in researching: biology, exploring the mysteries of the human body. After the transformation, Lin Ke first looked at her hands, smacked her lips, then looked at Lin Ke and said, "Great. I've made a breakthrough." Then she jumped over. Lin Ke caught Lin Ke. "Haha, that's good that you've made a breakthrough. Haha, haha, haha." Lin Ke's happiness was beyond words. His wife has made a breakthrough. The bottom of the abyss. Emperor Wu Mian wanted to get up and do something, but was held back by the two big hands of the five-colored dragon mother. The five-colored dragon mother glanced at him. "What's wrong? Is there something wrong?" Emperor Wu Mian pursed his lips. "I'm going to the Feldjima continent to go shopping and kill some people. The Feldjima continent is the eternal twilight continent. Just let the eldest and second sons go. You go." The five-colored dragon mother raised her eyebrows. "Are you going to sink the human continent?" "No, I just..." The sleepless emperor waved his hand and wanted to say more. Not too many old lovers, motivated, polite. The five-colored dragon mother glanced at him. "I think Lin Ke is a good kid." Her eyes were full of admiration, just like a mother-in-law looking at her son-in-law. "The more she looks, the more she likes him." "I'm not saying." The sleepless emperor was a little irritable, but he didn't finish his words under the sincere gaze of the five-colored dragon mother. "Okay, but little Lin Ke used to hang on me." The sleepless emperor looked at the front, as if he saw Lin Ke hanging on Lin Ke's neck through the void, hugging Lin Ke and kissing her face. Sat, the little cotton padded jacket was worn by someone else, and the old father felt so cold and empty. The five-colored dragon mother rolled her eyes. "At first, I was only close to my father. If you hadn't tricked me away, I think Lin Ke is much more honest than you." So far, Lin Ke has only been in contact with Lin Ke. Emperor Wu Mian is already very good compared to many nobles, but compared to Lin Ke, he is more loyal. We are not talking about the same thing. Emperor Wu Mian scratched the back of his head, a little embarrassed. The five-colored dragon mother didn't say much. "I won't say you either. In short, daughters always have to get married. We should be happy to have a little guy like Lin Ke." But the Mist, Princess of Mist. When mentioning the Princess of Mist, Emperor Wu Mian felt a little headache. He pinched his forehead and said in a deep voice, "Doesn't that little guy ruin like men?" "Yes, but Mist likes men who like men." The five-colored dragon mother slowly exhaled. After this incident, Emperor Wu Mian saw that Lin Ke became much more amiable. "I'd rather go to Feldjima for a visit." Emperor Wu Mian touched his chin and said, "Let's just take Feldjima. It seems that the guy Eternal Twilight has gone to the Star Realm. People there are used to belief. Where can you find so many gods to manage those believers and divine magicians?" The five-colored dragon mother shook her head, but then said, "Let's go to the Star Realm to find some star beasts to kill." The five-colored dragon mother originally just wanted to relieve Emperor Wu Mian's mood, but who knew that she talked about the Princess of Mist, which made her irritated. So the two of them made an appointment, cut through the space crack, and went to the Star Realm. Not far away, there was another stone building. The interior was not as simple as the outside, but magnificent. The moon goddess stood quietly in this magnificent hall, with her eyes closed and her brows furrowed. When Wu Mian and the five-colored dragon mother went to the outer domain to clean up the star beasts, the moon goddess slowly sighed. In another place, the old-looking gardener chuckled and continued to trim the flowers slowly with a pair of huge scissors. On the flowers, souls were wailing and screaming, but the gardener's face was still kind. "Father." When Lin Ke was fighting, Garros and others were also looking for their own opponents. Lin Ke had specially assigned and calculated. The god of crows was responsible for scouting out most of the situation, and then Lin Ke and others discussed how to deal with all enemies. For some stronger forces, the god of father would help more. For weaker forces, the god of father would help less. But it was basically foolproof. If there were any accidents, the god of the sky, as the god in charge of the central dispatch, would also pay attention. In general, there were no injuries in the first wave of attacks. However, the attacks were continuous. In the first wave of attacks, there were only 5 forces. They were all forces from the far west countries. After Lin Ke waited for Lin Ke to recover, he headed north again. The next one was the Sultanal tribe of the Holy Life Alliance. For several months in a row, the situation in Fassa changed suddenly. First, the Lord of the Great Wilderness in the northwest suddenly declared war on all hostile forces. This allowed many Fassa people under the rule of hostile forces to take a breath. At the same time, the forces of the Fanai party also followed the pace of the Lord of the Great Wilderness and launched a fierce counterattack against many invaders. The human forces belonging to the Kingdom of Gila also expanded rapidly at this time, occupying cities that were previously occupied by other forces in Nasang. Of course, countless people rushed to death and sacrifice on the way. 6 nobles of the Kingdom of Gila also died in the process due to accidents, and more gods of Fassa died. But compared with other forces in Nasang, it is already very good. What did the other forces of Nasang originally plan? One is that some star level wanted to come in and take the opportunity to break through. After all, the Fassa plain is one of the possessions of the Emperor Wumian. As the strongest person on the continent, face is still important, and he will definitely not take out a plane that is too bad. The result was also very gratifying. There were a lot of new gods in the farther plane, which really attracted the Nasang strongmen who had been thirsting for a long time. In addition, the second reason for the Nasang strongmen to come in was to compete for the prizes. This time, the nobles of the Gila kingdom evaluated the prizes, but all the forces in Nasang invested in the prizes. The prizes were very generous. For example, the human race rarely gave others the opportunity to enter the Fearless Tower. Like those Star Glory level who had not broken through for many years, many went to the Fearless Tower and found that they had broken through. For example, the Ice Crystal Giant Deer in the Everfrizz Council, the leader of the Minotaur tribe, and others, all had this idea. As for the rest of the reasons, just like some strong men were forced to come in by their own forces, there were also people like the tribes of the human race, who were thrown in purely because they could not afford to support them. In short, there were many reasons, but at the beginning, no one actually looked down on Lin Ke's strength. There was no other reason, the level was too low. When he appeared in the abyss, he was amazing, and the joining of the Black and White Knights later made many forces a little scared. But after Lin Ke came in, he chose not to fight or compete, but to write books, draw pictures and listen to music. Later, no one looked down on him, even though he supported the Fire Demon King Buck. It was not until Lin Ke declared war on all forces that the Nasang invaders, who were mostly concerned with burning, killing, and looting, realized, why are there Lin Ke's people everywhere? Lin Ke united all the tribes of the Minotaur tribe of the Holy Life Alliance, the Lizardmen of the Far West countries, and the Elephant people. In addition to the Vanir party in Fassa, Lin Ke's people are everywhere. When the Holy Life Alliance discovered it, all the forces of the Everfrizz Council, including the 5 members, had been defeated by Lin Ke one by one. The many strong men of the Holy Life Alliance could not be unified together. After all, many tribes were feuds, and the current Rat monarch did not have enough ruling power. However, some tribes still united together, but they were all overthrown by Lin Ke. In the end, all the forces of Nasang were killed or captured under Lin Ke's layout. Fassa also ushered in a new day, which was called the Day of the Great Unification of Fassa, and also became the Day of Unification. Fassa Great Unification. Fassa Alliance, the capital Lava City, the headquarters of the Fanai Party, the Flame Demon Auditorium. Outside the gate of the Flame Demon Auditorium, there are several stone tablets, which are densely recorded with the disasters of Fassa in the past 2 years, and behind them are famous battle reliefs. However, there is no writing about the words of the Flame Demon King Buck, but 2 words are left blank. Inside the Flame Demon Auditorium, it is similar to the style of a movie theater. There is a stone platform in front of the rows of seats, and there are 3 rows of seats on the platform. On both sides of the seats, there are giant screens built with photo stones. The Flame Demon Auditorium is a building built by magicians, magic patterners and Nasang professionals. It is also one of the core buildings of Lava City. It can accommodate 100,000 people. A magnificent building that can accommodate 100,000 people. Even the magic energy consumed every day during construction can drain a level 10 magician. After it is turned on, the magic energy consumed every hour requires a level 10 magician to operate. At this time, all the city hall owners of the farther continent sat in their seats, looking forward excitedly. Exciting and moving music sounded overhead, and people from the Nasan forces entered one by one and sat in front of these hall owners. The shrunken minotaurs, elephant men, lizard men, etc. entered and sat in the front rows. The forces of the Gila people also entered at this time. Their entry caused a violent reaction. After all, they were all foreign visitors who helped the unification of Father. The hall owners followed the instructions from above and did not shout, but clapped vigorously and talked to each other at the same time. These visitors from outside the domain are really nice. Yes, Nasan is such a powerful place. I can't imagine how we can survive if the Lord of the Great Wilderness has ill intentions towards us. Speaking of the Lord of the Great Wilderness, did you receive the news? Shut up. Didn't the above say that it's okay to know it in your heart? I know. What I mean is, if the Lord of the Great Wilderness is really that person, then wouldn't it be? Of course. Ha ha ha. While these hall masters were communicating, the people from Nasan had also taken their seats. Seeing this, the hall masters immediately stopped and looked at the big screen with expectation. They had an agenda for this meeting, and the next item should be, the gods entered. The gods who used to be high and mighty in Fasa could only take their seats like the mortals they once despised, sitting in the third row on the stage in front. There were a total of 358 gods. Although these gods, big and small, showed up, their faces were shrouded in mist, making it difficult to see their faces. They retained their dignity, but not many. The hall masters applauded even more vigorously when they saw this scene. Ha ha ha. Gods. Those are gods. 2000 years ago, my parents were killed by the sea god. One day I will take revenge. My Fanai party is the center of Fasa. Sure enough. There is no miracle that cannot be created. No need to pray to the gods, just fight for it yourself. Like the god of Nassang, Mr. Noble, said, only knowledge, will and thought are born high and mighty. The hall masters were all in a state of mixed emotions, and were all shocked by the gods on the big screen. This kind of shock was different from the fear and faith in the past. Instead, they were shocked by the big hand of the Fanai party. After the shock, there was a kind of sincere determination, pride and surging. Fasa was unified. Even the gods had to surrender. Chapter 355 Lin Ke, the king of flame demons? The gods, whose faces were not clear, sat in the third row on the stage. The first two rows had fewer seats, with only 100 in total. The 100 people were mainly the district heads of the 50 districts of Fasa and the real decision makers of the Vanai party. Unlike the hall heads below, the district heads and decision makers of these districts came from various industries and professions. These were the selected representatives of Fasa. For example, there were farmers who specialized in growing crops, aunties who sold roasted milk berries, ordinary employees of the city hall, powerful magicians or magic patiners. In short, these representatives of Fasa were randomly selected to attend the meeting at the Fasa Grand Planning Conference held every 5 years. Of course, gods were not included. In other words, people above level 15 would not be selected. This was a rule established for the fundamental interests of the Vanai party. People from all walks of life, even ordinary people, could sit on the stage and overlook the hall heads of the city halls of various cities below. This made everyone feel the superiority of the Vanai party for a time. In the past, those who had the right to speak were often only those who had powerful power. They don't understand the needs of the lower classes, and the result is that they are either replaced by new privileges or overthrown. If the power is really strong, no one can replace it, and no one can overthrow it. It may also lead to a result that the whole world is lifeless and there is no development at all. Even if 10,000 years have passed, the food, drink, play and use are still the same. The lower class people are numb, and the upper level privileged enjoyment mode is fixed. Therefore, in many cases, only change and flow are the basis for the development of the world. The same is true for the 5-year plan of the Fasa of the Vanai party. A meeting is held every 5 years. This meeting needs to evaluate and sort out the plans for the previous 5 years, and then make plans and adjustments for the development after 5 years. Great wisdom. Whether it is the eternal sky god or the ancient and powerful magician, everyone is amazed at Buck's wisdom. What an advanced idea. Therefore, for Buck, the king of the flame demon, almost all Fasa people have great respect for him. especially after Buck said, "I don't need faith. People should believe in themselves." That respect almost turned into fanatical worship. Today, after the high-ranking officials of the Fanai party took their seats, that figure finally entered the venue slowly. The figure was quite tall, but not as strong as expected. And the appearance on the big screen shocked many people. Impossible. How can Count Lin Ke sit on the stage? Shouldn't the most central position belong to Buck? Below the stage, the Minotaurs from Nassau and others widened their eyes. They hadn't noticed Lin Ke before. After all, although they were all-star glory level, they were still quite nervous to come to such a large venue of 10,000 people. Now, Lin Ke actually walked onto the stage. Moreover, Lin Ke didn't just find a seat to sit down, but walked straight to the empty seat between Babing and Anda. He sat down with a relaxed look on his face. Babing and Anda, the crazy woman, the sinister man, and others beside him didn't say anything, and their expressions were normal. The hall owners didn't say anything, and their faces didn't change. But applause rang out. And in this applause, the people of Nassau and the gods on the stage suddenly realized. The Flame Demon King Buck is the great wild lord Link! Exclamation mark. How is it possible? Oh my god, the force that Earl Link supports is actually him. The Minotaurs, Lizardmen and other human beings of the Kingdom of Gila and Nassau were all stunned. The gods on the stage were also in a state of panic, anxiety, anger, regret. All kinds of emotions intertwined and extremely complicated. The contract we signed with the Great Wild Lord is to let Buck rule the world for 100 years. The Great Wild Lord is the Flame Demon King Buck. This means it's terrifying to think about it. They signed a divine power contract. If they violated it and were backfired, they would directly fall. After all, the divine power contract was the divine power of the moon goddess, the powerful ruler of Nassau. But if they didn't violate it, if the Great Wild Lord was given 100 years, the entire Fassa would probably be emptied. At this time, they could only hope that the Great Wild Lord would be merciful. Even the god of the sky felt powerless. The god of the sky, who has existed since the early days of Phasa, cannot defeat a small ordinary lord of Nassau. This really makes the god depressed. Of course, if he knew that in Lin Ke's previous life, a group of exiled robbers, bandits and thieves eventually massacred a whole continent of people and became a beacon, he would not be surprised. The god of the sky is equivalent to a non-chief, while Lin Ke is more like an advanced small Western European country that has mastered core power and technology. This is the crushing result brought about by the difference in the core of the plane. The heads of the municipal halls of various cities in Phasa under the stage had already received the news, as did Anda and Babing. It took them a long time to digest it before they accepted the fact that Buck became the same substance as Lin Ke. Anda was also suddenly enlightened at the time. No wonder Buck was unknown before the arrival of the foreign visitors, and then suddenly emerged from the corners. It turns out that the king of the flame demon is the lord of the great wilderness. Everyone was not dissatisfied at all, knowing that Lin Ke had a purpose in doing this. If he were the lord of the great wilderness, many people would definitely not listen to him and reject him. But as Buck of the Phasa, everyone felt friendly. Moreover, the final result was that Lin Ke helped Phasa drive away the foreign visitors and let Phasa enter an unprecedented new historical period. They would only feel lucky for such a good leader. At the same time, they would also feel happy. Buck, who they followed in the secondary plane, suddenly became a powerful lord of the main plane. This is simply a joy. And Lin Ke, after he took his seat, he coughed lightly, and the venue suddenly became quiet. Lin Ke looked at the densely packed people who could not see the end, and felt a little dazed. Before, the wonders outside the great wilderness city should have separated him from the memories of his previous life. For example, the wonder outside the great wilderness city, the great library, is more than 400 meters high, like a huge mountain. But when he saw the Flame Demon Auditorium at this time, Lin Ke still felt a little touched. With the development of technology in the previous life, it was difficult to create such a magnificent building. Perhaps, in this life, he can reach a new height with the help of magic and technology. Thinking of this, Lin Ke slowly spoke. I'm from Nassau, a human from the kingdom of Gila, born into a Viscount family on the border. Chapter 356 Founder. After I was born, my father went to the secondary plane to fight. My aunt and mother raised me until I was 6 years old, when life changed. Endless monsters came out of the lava swamp. I fought back. At that time, I knew that the foundation of my life was my people. Lin Ke told the story slowly on the stage. At the age of 6, he picked up a sword and joined forces with nobles such as Giant Sword, Black Claw, and Akali to build the Great Wall Fortress and fight back. At the age of 8, he woke up from a serious injury and began to launch a series of reform measures in the Azane territory. At the age of 10, the reform measures were quite effective, and he began to build the Great Wasteland City and launched a series of arrangements. After that, various measures, decrees, and clauses emerged one after another. Nasang and the Great Wasteland City benefited from this. After that, it was the Noble Council. Lin Ke and other human races of the Gira Kingdom only knew at the last minute that all the Nasang forces participated in the Noble Council this time. Of course, things like the number of people were determined by the Gira Kingdom. So in the end, Lin Ke entered Phaser. When I first came in, I was a little confused, even a little angry and regretful. Lin Ke's voice was slightly lower. Gods, in Nasang, have been disliked since the mythological era, because the existence of gods can only survive by harvesting faith, and they are termites of the plain crystal wall. He didn't say that different paths lead to the same destination. In Nasang, basically no one is so desperate as to take the path of gods. Although there are gods who successfully promoted to level 21 and above in the end, such as the Dark Girl, but that is also a very rare case. So when he said this, even the people of Nasang nodded secretly, including those who took the path of gods. If they were not forced, who would want to take the path of gods? On the live broadcast side, the people of Nasang had a little brain failure at the beginning. Even the Marquis of the Great Sword was the same. The Marquis of the Great Sword is an 18th level war maniac, and Lin Ke personally taught him the art of war, but he didn't notice anything wrong. The Abyss, the Great Wasteland City, the Holy Life Alliance, countless places where live broadcasts can be seen, were all concealed by Lin Ke's deception. Even the dominant Prince of Stars was the same. Otherwise, Prince of Stars would not be unable to distinguish. They don't know that this is all the effect of Lin Ke's Palace Guard bracelet. The Palace Guard bracelet plus the optical skill allowed Lin Ke to conceal the truth. However, Lin Ke would not say these things. Others speculated that this was caused by the treasure given by Emperor Wumian. I'm surprised. How can there be such a terrifying plane? Everyone is dead and only knows about gods. They don't know that there are countless other ways. Even the gods themselves are not aggressive, but drag the entire facet to stay in their own way. Lin Ke continued to narrate, and the people below listened quietly and carefully. Because what Lin Ke said was not just a description of his experience and feelings. From this experience and feeling, everyone can also feel Lin Ke's wisdom. This kind of experience and wisdom is precious. So, I joined. I want to do something for Phaser, which will not affect my noble evaluation or the development of Phaser. Anda and Baguang, I watched them grow up. They suggested to me that I continue to be Buck, otherwise they were worried that the exposure of my identity would cause turmoil. But I chose to refuse. If temporary deception is a helpless choice, then timely confession is a basis for permanent communication. I believe that when I let all Phaser people have the ability and time to think independently, Phaser people will think for themselves. I will open up and spread out everything, the ins and outs, and my own behavior for all Phaser people to read, watch and understand. I believe Phaser people will know. Some Phaser people are more disgusting and cruel than the outsiders from Nasang, and some outsiders from Nasang are more kind and friendly than Phaser people. Lin Ke's words were full of sincerity, and everyone below felt a shock in their hearts, even the gods behind him. And Lin Ke thought the same thing in his heart. Record all history from an objective perspective, expose everything, and put knowledge and universal education first. Some people could have been the new emperor, but they shouted long live the people. In the end, people opened their minds and naturally knew what they should do to make their lives better. Even the dragon slaying technique, the subversion technique of Shenzhou, the uprising technique, etc. were written in textbooks. What was the final result? More than 1 billion people know where their lives come from and what they can do to have a better life. Lin Ke's move at this time is similar. Be honest about everything, and the people of Phaser will naturally know what they need and want. Later, Lin Ke's move first made all the high-level people accept it, and even more moved. A messenger, for the sake of the Phaser people, has kept his name and identity to this point. How great. So, I, Lin Ke am Buckleglinus. As soon as this was said, of course, there was a tidal wave of applause. After saying this, Lin Ke finally started to talk about the highlight of the day. Great reform of Phaser. Lin Ke's voice was as heavy as 1,000 pounds, resounding to the ground. When oppression becomes more severe and the heart of resistance gradually rises, there are generally two ways to choose. Top-down reform and reform. Bottom-up revolutionary uprising. There are only two. And now, Lin Ke is going to carry out top-down reform and reform. In the past, Phaser had only one way to go, that is, ordinary people, wild magicians, divine magicians, gods. There is only one way. But now, in order to ensure vitality, Lin Ke needs to give everyone the opportunity and direction to choose. Just like in the past life, whether you study engineering or accounting, biology or physics, you can move to the top. In other words, the measurement standard of Phaser's top management will change from pure power to a situation where power and wisdom coexist. The scope of this reform involves the system, military, economy, technology, finance, culture, etc. I will describe the details one by one. Lin Ke nodded to the goddess of cloud and mist behind him. Suddenly, a cloud of mist swirled out and spread around the auditorium. So the live broadcast of Prince Xingqian on Naseng's side suddenly went out for several seconds. Prince Xingqian, who was resting with his eyes closed somewhere, suddenly opened his eyes, a gleam of light flashed in his eyes, and was about to continue exploring. After all, he was also very curious about Lin Ke's measures. Stop. The voice of Emperor Wu Mian sounded in his ears. Thinking of the terrifying scene of Emperor Wu Mian not long ago, Prince Xingqian's body stiffened, and then closed his eyes again. Chapter 357, The Great Reform of Father. First of all, the top priority is the military. Lin Ke continued to speak after the goddess of mist blocked Prince Star's gaze. As for the Minotaurs, they also signed a confidentiality agreement with Lin Ke, and they would have friendly exchanges after returning to Nasem. For example, the Minotaur warriors are good at charging into battle, the warriors of the elephant race are more muscular than each other, and the lizard professionals are best at assassination. Although there are some alien races in Azin and Dahuang City, they are relatively few. Lin Ke is also happy to see the intelligent life of different races communicate with each other. Different cultures and styles may collide to produce different sparks. Military is our backing. It is the capital of our Phasa standing in the star world. When Phasa's military is as strong as Naseng, Phasa will become the main plane. When Lin Ke was telling the story, he used we instead of you, which made the audience feel that they were valued. I've handed over the reform of the military system to Babing. The next step is the system reform. Our system must be a people's system. What is a people's system? It means taking the people as the center and cultivating talents from all walks of life. They can build in Phaser in the future, or go to Nasem to work hard, and then give back to Phaser. The reform of the system is jointly managed by Under and Ms. Yang. They grasp the general direction. Other subtle systems require the joint efforts of each of you. In other words, every city needs to randomly select people from various industries every 5 years as city representatives to formulate new laws and regulations for the city. But it should also be noted that the city's laws and regulations shall not exceed the basic laws of the region, and the basic laws of the region cannot exceed the basic laws of Phaser. The ultimate core and foundation is the basic laws of Phaser. While Lin Ke was talking, the people below were also flipping through the books in their hands. Most of the books in their hands were excerpts from Lin Ke's Lord Theory. His Lord Theory has not yet been completed, and is still in the process of writing. At present, he is even revising and improving the things he has written before. It's not so easy to finish, because when he was writing, he always felt that the Lord Theory he wrote would give him a lot of feedback, and this feedback could even allow him to break through from the star level to the legend level. Now he simply didn't have the ability to finish it, otherwise he, who hadn't even completed the elemental body and the law body, would definitely be blown up by that huge feedback. Of course, this was just his feeling. After all, no one had ever been blown up by feedback. The general situation for others was that the feedback was not enough, not too much. Law is our foundation. All behaviors and policies must be regulated by the law. Whether it is a farmer or a god in the sky, breaking the law must be punished by the law. As soon as these words came out, there was another round of applause from the audience to express everyone's reaction to this matter. Even gods must be punished by the law. Including the god of the sky. Lin Ke said another sentence, which caused an explosion of applause. The sky is above. They, the phaser, have known since childhood that the god of the sky is powerful and majestic. Almost every phaser person is a shallow believer in the god of the sky. Even the buildings of phaser are inclined towards the sky. Those large and small phaser towers that look like lollipops are also proof of their love for the sky. It is equivalent to that from childhood to adulthood. We have heard that Pangu created the world and Nuwa repaired the sky and created humans. Later, I heard that Pangu was taken to the district police station for questioning because he carried a controlled knife, and Nuwa was punished for illegally mining ore. It's simply amazing. The supreme god in everyone's heart must be punished, even if he breaks the law. The god of the sky does not have the nobleness and virtue, or merit, of Pangu and Nuwa in Lin Ke's previous life. The god of the sky is just a powerful god, and what he does more is exploitation and oppression. The phaser people are more in awe of the god of the sky than respect and love. Now, the law is above the gods, and even the gods have to surrender. Those who originally had some small thoughts should be restrained. Lin Ke sighed inwardly. In fact, even so, there will be people who take risks. Perhaps, only when he supports a god of law in phaser can many officials be afraid. After the military and the system, it is education reform. Lin Ke said the next highlight. Education. But below, many people don't understand. Education? What can education do? Military and system are very important. The system that Lin Ke has decided now is that the law governs phaser, and the people govern the law. People are the foundation. Everyone can also hear that this move has changed phaser. It's not that no one has thought of it before, but it's a pity that those who have thought of it are either powerful vested interests or ordinary people who have no power, so it is impossible to change. Now Lin Ke, as a vested interest, has chosen to help those at the bottom, which is the fundamental driving force for institutional reform. But now, after military and education, shouldn't technology be the most important? Go learn Nasang's technology, such as the professional system, and then let phaser grow up successfully. Education is the root of a plane's strength. Lin Ke was disappointed and relieved. He saw many people below puzzled and shook their heads, but fortunately there were still some people who understood and suddenly realized. The senior officials around him, who had been influenced by him for a long time, all expressed their understanding. Even Babing, who had never received education since childhood, felt that the importance of education was comparable to that of the military. Lin Ke looked around and said, first, set up an enlightenment school. All children in Phasa who are 6 years old must go to school. One word stirred up 1,000 waves. 6 years old. 6 years old must be sent to school? Exclamation mark. My family has a better education. Why should I send them to school? Yes. And how much does it cost? Where are the teachers? Where do teachers come from? Alas, Phasa is different from the great wilderness. The people below began to discuss. In fact, when the system of laws are above the gods came out, everyone was already ready to move. Now they were even more excited. Silence. Daisha, the great wizard of the wind sanctuary on the stage, spoke, and his voice spread throughout the venue. Suddenly, everyone quieted down. Lin Ke smiled. It seems that many people still cannot realize the importance of education. Only by making education fair can we screen out talents to the greatest extent. What is educational equity? A commoner and a descendant of a magician may have the same talent. In this case, education and hard work become the standard for their advancement. Lin Ke knows that among the common people, the huge population base will definitely give birth to many talented people. What he wants is a vibrant Phasa, a Phasa that can continuously provide talents to the great wilderness and Azan. After the Enlightenment School, there is the Promotion School. The Enlightenment School is responsible for enlightening the children, allowing them to receive some basic knowledge and common sense, and open their wisdom. The promotion school is to give them the ability to think for themselves and let them choose their future path. When the promotion school graduates, let the children choose their own future path. In the end, they choose the path and enter the university. Lin Ke discussed with everyone that if the university is only established in the Great Wilderness, it is not enough. There may be about 500 universities in Fasa. After all, the area of Fasa continent is larger than the land area of the Earth in the previous life. Of course, there is no rush for the university. Lin Ke would rather start with Nasan. When the University of Nasan is established, the graduates of Nasan can come to Fasa to teach, and they can also come to Fasa to exchange, study, and research. The key is that, although Fasa is now half liberated, it is still far from that level. There are fewer nobles here than in Nasan, and the education level is also low. We can only wait until the first batch of people in Dahuang City finish college, and then spread to various universities. Whether it is the material science of the previous life or the magic science of the present, they are all treasures of wisdom. The specific content of education will be handed over to Lovell. Science and technology are the top priority, and His Excellency Daisha will be in charge of the Academy of Sciences. Medical care is very important, and my follower Nix's apprentice, Synoda, is just qualified. Culture is a soul, Lin Ke announced, and explained one by one. This meeting will be recorded by the photo stone for many people to watch and learn. He didn't know when he could get the phaser plane from Wumian, and there were a lot of things to do after going out, so he wanted to make arrangements as thoughtful and complete as possible. Everyone also knew that Lin Ke must have a lot of things to do in Nasan, and it was impossible for him to escort them all the time. After I leave, I will take all the people in Nasan away. At the same time, the gods of Fasa will return to the sky and can only come down after 100 years. After 100 years, the gods can fight or make peace. Lin Ke said this calmly, and a terrifying dominant aura burst out from his body, which came from the scepter in his hand. The gods, including the god of the sky, did not respond. Although they had expected that life would be miserable for 100 years, they did not expect it to be so miserable. Buck was lucky. They could come back after 100 years and take back the phaser plane. But Buck was Lin Ke. When they came back after 100 years, they had to worry about whether others would capture them and eat them as supplements. This meeting lasted for a full 10 days, and there were breaks in the middle, but it could be said that everything was discussed in detail. Lin Ke only talked about the basic law and direction on the first day, and most of the other discussions were held by the district masters of each region. This day also marked the first lava meeting in the history of the Fanai party. The rules were also set. Every 5 years, a meeting would be held here. Each meeting needed to summarize the previous 5 years and look forward to the next 5 years. In addition, there was the internet. Lin Ke had been organizing people to explore and collect relevant materials before, and found out, after sorting them out, through the skills of the lightning magician, several materials can be condensed into something like a network cable. Although Phaser's research on electromagnetic waves is not thorough enough, with the Great Wasteland City, radio, and newspapers have already spread out. At present, it is not possible to cover the entire continent, but it can cover more than 30% of the area. It has to be said that places with extraordinary power are more convenient than in the past. In the past, regional resources, scientific and technological levels, cultural development, transportation conditions, etc. were the shackles that restricted local development. Here, as long as Lin Ke wanted, the people of the Vanai party could go to the mountains and the countryside at the first time, use wind magic to cross the mountains, and use magic pattern warriors to chop wood and make fire. When radios and newspapers became popular, and when the people of the Vanai party developed to every corner, Lin Ke could say that he had complete control of Phaser. At that time, there was a person from the world to back him up. I have to say that Wumian's father-in-law is really good to him. This time, the people of the Great Wilderness Knights have generally upgraded in the fighting and war. He should be able to get the first place in the noble evaluation without any objection, and maybe even become a duke. Even liquor has changed into a law body, and the human race of the Gila Kingdom has also improved. The most important thing is that this Fasa is destined to become one of Lin Ke's core secondary planes in the future. Needle does not poke Speaking of this dowry is so good, what kind of gift should he give? Thinking of his father's bear. Forget it, I'd better find a way myself. Garrow should just accompany Furlong and Tower to be happy. Gift? How about tying up the god of the sky and taking him back? But this plane is all Woomian's. He doesn't know how many such large secondary planes he has under his command, so there is no shortage of such a dish of master. Forget it, let's talk about the gift later. And this place doesn't have the bad habit of gift and dowry. The internet, magic patterns and the Knights of Phaser may be the biggest gains of my trip. Apart from other things, the form of magic patterns is not weak even in the professional system. If professionals carve magic patterns, wouldn't it be even more powerful? Of course, Lin Ke is not going to study hard by himself. It would be better for Phaser Academy of Sciences and Ahuang City to study later. Lin Ke knows more about science and magic patterns, but professionals, others know more about them. After dealing with everything, Lin Ke is finally ready. The last day of the third year in Phaser, Lin Ke and others watched Phaser undergo earth-shaking changes in just 3 years, and they were also very moved. After the first lava meeting in Phaser, the district heads of various regions and the heads of the city halls of various cities began to work hard. No matter who it is, the term of office is only 5 years. If they don't do well in 5 years, they will leave. If they do well, they can serve another term. In Phaser, whether it is the district heads of the regions, representatives of various industries, or the heads of the city halls of various cities, the term of office does not exceed 10 years at most. Every 5 years, a new election will be held, and everyone can become a hall master or district master. Lin Ke knew that the time was too short, many things had not yet been settled, and there were many defects in the system. But there was no way, if he was given 10 years, or even 5 years, perhaps everything could be sorted out, such as the supervision, inspection, and punishment systems. Now, he was going back. Master, all the captives are ready. John stepped forward and said to Lin Ke in the Flame Demon Square of Lava City. Lin Ke looked back and saw a sea of people. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 358 Return and Ranking. Are all the people here? Lin Ke turned around and chuckled. Looking around, there were people everywhere, tens of thousands of people. However, except for Lin Ke's people, everyone had handcuffs on their hands. The son of the chief counselor of the Everfrizz Council, the star-level ice crystal giant deer, the star-level mermaid of the star reef and the ocean of stars and waves, the Holy Life Alliance, the Radenbor tribes, and various branches of the Radenbor tribes, were all wiped out. In the far west countries, the Forest Hut and the Shadow Killer organization were all wiped out, and the rest were basically captured. The remaining 4 family members of the Everfrizz Council and the Bear people of the Everfrizz Council were also captured. The other tribes were similar, captured or killed. The other tribes of the Holy Life Alliance were the same, except for the Minotaur tribe and the Elephant Man tribe. The others were basically captured. The far west countries were the same. The Desert Song, the Willow Volcano, the original Storm Sea, etc. were all captured and followed. At the beginning of the capture, the star-level ice crystal giant deer, the son of the chief of the Parliament, was particularly resistant. Later, as more and more people were captured, he became less and less resistant. Anyway, Lin Ke was invincible, and in the end, people from other forces were captured, right? One person would be embarrassed and humiliated. It would be better with more people. What's more, Buck was actually Lin Ke. Being captured by a person who has never been treated as an equally intelligent life is different from being captured by the son-in-law of the Sleepless Emperor. Just like in the previous life, being captured by an ant in a park is different from being captured by the princess and the son-in-law of a great dynasty with an area of more than 9.9 million square kilometers. Everyone. Lin Ke looked at the people below with a smile on his face, like a general ready to go home. We are going home. The captives were silent, and Lin Ke's people cheered. Go home. Go back to Nassam. I have to say that no matter how comfortable it is here in Phaser, it feels different from being in Nassam. This kind of attachment to the homeland from the depths of the soul is shared by many intelligent creatures. Moreover, they returned as victors. Returning home in glory. Returning home in glory is, of course, exciting. And babying, Ms. Young. I'll leave Phaser to you first. Follow the established ideas and develop them. I'll open the channel between the two planes later. Lin Ke looked to the other side, where Anda and others stood quietly. Then, he looked at the distance indifferently. Gods, please go back. Phaser gods. Somewhere invisible to everyone, the gods of the sky gods flew into the sky. Most of them can only choose to sleep. After sleeping for 100 years, they will see if there is a chance. Maybe Lin Ke's kindness can let them live a little longer? Even if they are useful, maybe they can go to Nassim to make a further step. After watching the gods go away, Lin Ke looked at the sky and nodded slightly. At this time, the noble's deliberation was over. A black and white light came from an unknown place, penetrating the crystal wall of the phaser plane, and rushing straight to the fire demon square. The inverted white light flowed down like a waterfall, washing over the Nassim people in the fire demon square. The white light was almost instantaneous. After the sky highlight column disappeared, the originally crowded fire demon square suddenly disappeared without a trace of Lin Ke and his companions. Anda, the crazy woman, the sinister man, Ms. Young, a group of high-ranking members of the Phaser Vanai party stood still and watched the foreign visitors from Nassim disappear. Gone. Anda thought of 3 years ago, when he first saw Lin Ke. He thought Lin Ke was a person who had come out of seclusion in the mountains, but he didn't expect that he was the lord of the great wilderness. The others were the same. Looking at the clear and crisp autumn sky, they felt that everything was like a dream. Okay, everyone, let's go back. Anda turned around and imitated Lin Ke's smile. Wait for the Fire Demon King to come back and let him see a brand new Phaser. Phaser has experienced 3 years of war and is devastated. It's time to rebuild it well. After a dizzy spell, Lin Ke opened his eyes. What he saw was a piece of sky. It was different, a different feeling from Phaser. The space here is heavier, and the space cracks that could have been opened in Phaser can't even cause a slight vibration here. Nassim. Back to Nassim. Lin Ke slowly exhaled the air belonging to Phaser in his chest, and then inhaled the air of Nassim. Here is the abyss. In the headspace of the abyss, their live broadcast screen just dissipated. And in the abyss, cheers like a landslide and tsunami rang out. Lin Ke. Invincible. Powerful. Peerless. Top. I love you Lin Ke. I'm willing to follow Lin Ke's footsteps. Various cheers rang out, making Lin Ke feel as if he was in another world. He is really back. He stood on a magic circle, which was formed by the spires of 3 high towers on the edge of the abyss, and was suspended above the abyss. Behind him were his own great wilderness knights, other nobles of the Gila kingdom, and captives. At the same time, a group of strong men suddenly appeared in front of him. The auras of these strong men were shaking one by one, and the deterrent power alone made the space and laws above the abyss tremble, and even the cheers of the abyss were silent. Gods, legends, and masters. This real and uncompromising aura made Lin Ke feel terror for the first time in a long time. The gods and legends of Nassim are famously powerful in the surrounding heavens and stars. Almost all planes around the main plane Nassim have become secondary planes. I have also encountered other similar main planes, but they are no match for Nassim. This is the legend of the great power belonging to oneself. This is the god whose face spreads the star world. And, the supreme great masters. Standing at the forefront of the group of strong men is the Emperor Wumian. The majestic figure of the Emperor Wumian stands proudly in front of the strong men. No one dares to stand with the Emperor Wumian, such as the Sun God of the Holy Life Alliance and the Chief of the Everfrizz Council. Moreover, Lin Ke also found that before entering Phaser, and now that he came out, the attitude of the strong men towards Wumian seemed to have some subtle changes. This change is more subtle. Lin Ke felt that it seemed that the strong men had more fear of the Emperor Wumian. Even the masters were afraid of the Emperor Wumian. Lin Ke was extremely surprised and didn't know what had happened in the past 3 years. It seems that I have to collect information carefully later to see the changes in these years. Lin Ke thought to himself. At the same time, Emperor Wumian looked at Lin Ke and the others and said, "This noble deliberation has lasted for a total of 3 years. Nobles, chiefs, counselors, warriors, welcome back to Nassim. As soon as he finished speaking, the cheers from the abyss broke out again, surging. Chapter 359. Lin Ke is conferred the title of Duke of Lava. Emperor Wumian said, "This noble review is over. Everyone, follow me back to the abyss." As he said that, Emperor Wumian casually cut a hole. Wow, this hole is almost wider than the hole in the abyss, enough for everyone to go in together. Lin Ke's pupils were shocked. Although it should be so with Emperor Wumian's strength, it must be said that this scene is still quite shocking. After cutting the space crack, Emperor Wumian took the lead to go in. Other strong men, Lin Ke and others also stepped into it one after another. After entering it, they came to the human palace at the bottom of the abyss. The hall is spacious, with a group of strong men sitting on the left and right, and Lin Ke and others standing in the middle. Emperor Wumian stood on the high platform in front. Behind him were the moon goddess and the five-colored dragon mother, and then the grand dukes of the Gila kingdom, as well as the princes and princesses. The grand prince and the dark girl were all there, but the mist princess was not there. Lin Ke asked her to guard the great wasteland city. The atmosphere in the whole hall was solemn and dignified. Lin Ke looked to the right. The Ratman monarch of the Holy Life Alliance was among the people of the Holy Life Alliance. He smiled at him after seeing Lin Ke's gaze. Lin Ke smiled back. The Ratman monarch and the sun god were the ones who wanted to kill him, and the ones who killed AOF. Our human race will never fall. The voice of the sleepless emperor suddenly sounded, majestic and solemn. People including Lin Ke also shouted, "Our human race will never fall. Our human race will never fall." Everyone shouted this sentence, and they felt that there was something in their hearts that they couldn't explain. Lin Ke had seen this sentence in many books. It was one of the famous sayings of the sleepless emperor. Today, many new and powerful nobles have emerged in my Gila kingdom. From your figures, I seem to see the appearance of your ancestors who fought through difficulties to protect the Gila kingdom and Nassim. The voice of the sleepless emperor was firm and powerful, and he slowly told the difficult struggle history of the human race. Based on your performance over the past 3 years, the noble promotion ceremony of our Gila kingdom begins. Noble promotion ceremony? Exclamation mark. Lin Ke was a little surprised. Shouldn't this be an internal matter? Now that so many people from other forces are here, shouldn't we first talk about the overall ranking, and then slowly award them after they leave? This made Lin Ke more and more certain that something must have happened to make Emperor Wumian rank the Gila kingdom ahead of the entire Nassim. First place, Lin Ke. While Lin Ke was thinking, Emperor Wumian had already read out his name. First place. No objection, well deserved. Emperor Wumian looked at Lin Ke with a smile in his eyes. You created the identity of Buck in the phaser plane, led the phaser life to successfully defeat other enemies, and ruled the entire phaser. The command score is 100, the leadership score is 100. Here, I will make you a duke. The Duke of Lava. The Duke of Lava. Lin Ke was named the Duke of Lava. No one felt anything. It was clean, and so was Lin Ke. It was expected. The strength that Lin Ke showed in phaser had already reached the level of star brilliance, so it was normal for him to be a duke. This kind of strength is not just individual strength, but a comprehensive strength including power, followers, means and other aspects. It was no surprise that Lin Ke was doing strategy. If AOF was here, it is estimated that he could become a Grand Duke. The second one, Garuz Azane. In phaser, you assisted Lin Ke Azane to complete his mission and reach the corresponding level, and you were named the Marquis of Torrent. The territory is located in the territory of the Duke of Lava. The third one, Emperor Wumian conferred titles one by one, and it took nearly an hour to confer titles on all the nobles of the Kingdom of Gila who participated in this noble evaluation. With the last Pioneer Knight being conferred as a Baron, the result of this noble evaluation of the Kingdom of Gila was basically out. When Emperor Wumian's last sentence fell, the space of the entire hall began to tremble slightly. Words come true. Emperor Wumian's profession as king. The power of endless laws poured down and poured into the bodies of Lin Ke and others, naturally condensing some items for them. For example, a black and red scepter condensed in Lin Ke's hand, with the word lava written on it in the common language of Nassim. This represents his right to attack. On his chest, a noble emblem also condensed. Under the interweaving of laws, Two visions of thunder and lava were formed, turning into purple and black and red. This noble emblem looks like a triangle, with one side being thunder, one side being lava, and one side being similar to muscle lines. Inside the triangle is a brilliant white light, and outside is a thick darkness. This is the noble emblem of the Lin Ke family constructed by the law. For other people, generally, they just condense a noble emblem and it's gone, without a scepter. Only the Duke and the Grand Duke have their own scepters. Next, Emperor Wumian looked at everyone, except the Kingdom of Gila. Now, let's start the ranking of this nascent evaluation. Emperor Wumian's voice no longer had the tone of appreciation and joy, but became flat instead. First place, Gila Kingdom, Duke Link. Second place, Gila Kingdom, Marquis Garros. Third place, Holy Life Alliance, Tauran Chief. Emperor Wumian did not stop and finished the ranking of more than 200 forces one after another. There is no doubt that the human race of Gila Kingdom are all ranked at the top. In addition, there are a few who defected to Lin Ke. The others are all in the back row. But this is also reasonable. Isn't this nonsense? People from other forces, those who were killed, those who were captured. What qualifications do they have to participate in the ranking? If Lin Ke hadn't considered a bad influence, and he could also exchange the captives for a fortune, he would have killed them all long ago, and he could also get some divinity to sell. After reading the rewards, Emperor Wumian's face curled up slightly, and no one knew what Emperor Wumian was laughing at. He just said, the prizes for this nascent review are jointly provided by all our forces. These prizes are currently with me. You can go to the Minister of Internal Affairs to claim them at any time. So far, this nascent review has officially ended. After saying this, the expression of Emperor Wumian changed immediately, becoming amiable. From an emperor, he became an uncle. Son-in-law, how is it in there this time? Are you cold or hungry? Emperor Wumian walked down quickly, and the five-colored dragon mother did the same. In front of everyone, these two terrifying, intimidating, and supreme rulers walked down like two ordinary fathers-in-law and mothers-in-law. Father, you are the first one who didn't ask me. Lin Ke shouted, walked up a few steps, hugged Emperor Wumian's neck, and hung on him. The atmosphere of the whole hall changed instantly. Chapter 360, Selling Prisoners. Shocking Nasm. At this time, Lin Ke was hanging on Wumian, and the five-colored dragon mother held Lin Ke's hand, and asked about his well-being. The others were stunned. Lin Ke, yes, that's Lin Ke, it makes sense. Emperor Wumian asked, son-in-law, I remember that these people were captured by you? What are you going to do? He pointed to the people wearing magic handcuffs, who were the strong men captured by Lin Ke. Lin Ke immediately knew that Emperor Wumian was standing up for him. So he smiled and said loudly, as long as the price is right, they can all be redeemed. The price is right, redeem. Originally, in Lin Ke's imagination, these captives would also suffer all kinds of difficulties when brought back. Although Emperor Wumian is powerful, two fists cannot beat four hands. There are so many legends and masters here, it is probably difficult to suppress them if they make trouble. But in the end he still has to reap the benefits. After all, building a territory and a plane requires materials and money. Think about it, he became the Duke of Lava, and the Kingdom of Gila should reward him with several planes. It took 3 years to open up the plane of Phaser this time. Lin Ke didn't want to be that slow for the next plane. Of course, if those people knew that Lin Ke thought that 3 years was too slow to open up a large plane, they would probably scold him to death. One of the key points of this trip to Phaser is the participation of the Black and White Knights. Otherwise he would not be able to defeat the God of the Sky at the beginning. Is the price right? I think they are all well-known people, so they shouldn't make random offers. Emperor Wumian looked around with a smile, focusing on the sun god and the chief of the ice crystal giant deer. The tone was clearly provocative, and Lin Ke even saw some expectations in Emperor Wumian's eyes. What are you going to do? Emperor Wumian looked around, and no one looked at him, so he looked at Lin Ke kindly. Be casual. The five-colored dragon mother was also like this, very kind, like an ordinary mother-in-law. Lin Ke narrowed his eyes, and immediately knew that something must have happened in the past 3 years. Maybe the Emperor Wumian directly swept away all the dominant masters? How about this? father-in-law and mother-in-law, I plan to hold an auction and explanation meeting in the wonderful place of Dahuang City. Lin Ke wanted to maximize the benefits. The time is at the end of this year. Auction and explanation meeting. The auction can maximize the benefits. The explanation meeting is another direction that Lin Ke wants to go about some of his plans. At the end of the year, the Emperor Wu Mian raised his eyebrows. Why not today? Father-in-law, we have to get people to collect money and let more people hear the news. I believe that my batch of high quality slaves can attract a lot of people. Lin Ke smiled. Since my father-in-law is here, there is nothing to be afraid of. Sure enough, Lin Ke's words made Emperor Wu Mian's eyes light up. Not bad, not bad. I happen to have some friends too. I will ask those old guys if they like to study some rare bloodlines. At this time, Chief of Ice Crystal Giant Deer couldn't help but speak. Your Majesty, Lord Lava, we are all members of Nasang. Please give us some face. Lord Lava refers to Lin Ke, who is now the Duke of Lava. Chief, you can't say that. I remember when I was a child, I met an old woman named Romera, who told me that the strong are the source of face. Romera was one of the inspectors who went to Azan Castle to hold him accountable because of AOF. At that time, AOF almost destroyed the city because of what Baron Sandal did to Lin Ke, so Romera and others appeared in Azan Castle. Romela? The Ice Crystal Giant Deer frowned. With his status, he could not contact such a low-level person. He frowned and said, I don't know why. Okay, no need to say so much. Emperor Wu Mian waved his hand to interrupt directly, with a natural domineering attitude, then set it at the end of the year. Very good, very good. It just so happens that you have a press conference at the end of the year in Dahuang City, right? It's just right to hold it together. The latter sentence, Wu Mian said to Lin Ke. Yes. Lin Ke nodded slightly. So, the people of Nasang once again realized the Emperor Wu Mian's protection of his shortcomings. In this case, see you at the end of the year. The Ice Crystal Giant Deer's face was gloomy. As a master level strongman who intimidated countless powerful beings in the secondary planes, he had to bow his head under Wu Mian's pressure. After saying this, the Ice Crystal Giant Deer turned into white light and disappeared on the spot. Emperor Wu Mian didn't care. That's it for today. The second Nasang Council will be held in 10 years. I hope you will continue to work hard. After saying that, he waved his hand. So, the group of warriors who had been motionless like wooden sculptures breathed a sigh of relief and left the hall one after another. Lin Ke took a deep look at the direction where the Ratman monarch and the sun god left and then retracted his gaze. Duke of Lava. The Tauran chieftain said hello. We are going back too. We will come to collect the reward in 2 days and then we will go to the tavern for a drink. Wait a minute. Lin Ke hurriedly stopped him. I'm afraid that you will be embarrassed by your monarch and the sun god when you go back this time. Embark. That coward. The Minotaur spat. He dare not. Although my Minotaur clan is not the top superior life, as a superior life, he dare not do anything. Superior life is a race second only to holy life and has a very high voice in the Holy Life Alliance. Okay, if you need any help, you can contact me from the Scarlet Wilderness. Lin Ke felt a little regretful. He originally wanted to seduce the Minotaur tribe. I guess I will go back to the wilderness soon. But think about it, the Minotaur tribe is a good upper life, and it is boring to come to the wilderness city as an ordinary citizen. Of course. The Minotaur chief laughed and stepped forward to give Lin Ke a strong hug. Lin Ke also returned the hug and looked at the lizardman. The lizardman tribe, but inexplicably turned to him, belonged to the killer organization of the far west countries, Despair Pool. Duke of Lava, I hope to have more cooperation with the Scarlet Wilderness in the future. The leader of the lizardmen pounded his chest very elegantly to express his respect for Lin Ke. Okay, I will give the order. The intelligence system of the Scarlet Wilderness is perfect, but there are indeed few killers, only some low-level killers, and there is still a lack of killers with medium and high strength. And next, it is the elephant people. Needless to say, the elephant people decided to go back first to take the old, weak, sick and disabled, and then move the whole tribe to the great wilderness city. Lin Ke also prepared to go back and start to vigorously produce food, and it happened that some of Fasa's food seeds were also brought by him. Of course, the most urgent task is to understand what happened in Nasang in the past 3 years, so as to make corresponding arrangements and countermeasures. Now his information is seriously missing. While Lin Ke and others were resting and understanding information in the abyss, the news that Lin Ke wanted to buy prisoners also spread. Nasang set off a huge wave. Chapter 361 Carnival from Dahuang City. The ocean of stars and waves, deep in the sea. That stupid starry merman was captured? Hahaha, that guy has come to this day. No, I want to buy him and torture him for 100 years or 1,000 years. In the depths of a trench, a huge shadow appeared, as if some giant beast swam by, making a huge cry in the trench. In the north of Nasang, it was icy and snowy. A group of intelligent life forms like walruses were watching the live broadcast outside some ice brick houses, enduring the wind and snow. Father, the chief son of the ice crystal giant deer clan was captured? A young and strong walrus was full of surprise. Then should we? Several walruses around also looked behind them. Behind them was a figure that looked like a meat mountain. The round belly indicated the thick fat contained in it, and also represented a strong power. Well, the main thing is to buy the bears. If we buy them away, the human race will have no helpers, and we can successfully take the position of the fifth counselor. The meat mountain-like walrus spoke in a muffled voice, with a strong breath. Good. Great. Fifth counselor. The other walruses shouted excitedly. Mountains, lakes, dense forests, deserts. People from all over Nasang knew that the new lava duke of the Gila kingdom was going to sell prisoners. The prisoners sold actually included a lot of pillars of other forces. They were strong men above level 15 and below legendary level. The Holy Life Alliance, the Everfrizz Council and other forces are not without enemies. On the contrary, their enemies are also spread all over the secondary planes and all over Nasang. Therefore, this auction has caused turmoil in the entire Nasang. There are 2 highlights, and many people are watching. One is the son of the chief of the Everfrizz Council, the star level ice crystal giant deer. You must know that this star level ice crystal giant deer has the blood of the chief of the Everfrizz Council. If this powerful blood is bought back by some people with intentions and studied and used, it is very likely to find a way to target the chief of the Everfrizz Council. Buying a mere starlight can give you the possibility of dealing with the overlord class. This is simply too much money. And even if you can't deal with the chief of the Everfrizz Council, you can use it to grind his bones and ash to take revenge, or use it as a mount or something. In short, it has endless uses. The second one that has attracted attention is the starry mermaid of the Star and Wave Ocean. The mermaids of the Starry Reef also have some royal bloodlines of deep sea mermaids. The deep sea mermaid kingdom in ancient times was a powerful force that occupied all the oceans. The blood that has survived to this day has become the royal bloodline of the Star and Wave Ocean. Although the Starry Reef mermaid is only a branch, it is also of great research value. For example, if you extract it and add it to your own bloodline in the future, wouldn't it be possible to inherit the bloodline talents and abilities of the ancient mermaid royal family? Similarly, the upper life of the Holy Life Alliance, the family of the members of the Everfrizz Council, the special intelligent life of the Far West countries. In short, all kinds of slave auction items have made the whole Nasang boil. There are only 3 months to the end of the year. Undercurrents are surging. Everyone is accumulating strength, raising money, or preparing some rare items. They all want to make sure they can buy something. Of course, there are also many people who are trying their luck, such as buying a female mermaid to raise for fun. It doesn't matter if they can't afford it. At the beginning of the undercurrent in Nasang, Lin Ke returned to Azan. The Azan castle in front of him was intact, but Lin Ke's face became gloomy. There was no breath of life inside, but there were dried corpses outside the castle. Lin Ke remembered what Wu Mian said to him, "Dear Duke of Lava, go and deal with the mess in your territory. After all, I can't be your housekeeper forever. However, if any old guy dares to cross the line, he will die. Go ahead and do it." At that time, Emperor Wu Mian had encouragement and support in his eyes and patted his back. Lin Ke now knows what really happened between Azan and Dahuang City. Hopefully nothing serious will happen. Lin Ke thought of his arrangements and backup plans before he left, hoping that nothing unexpected will happen. "Master, there is no scent of the ladies. John went to investigate, buried the dried and smelly corpses, and came back to report. How many died? Lin Ke's face was indifferent. Those who knew him knew that he was now full of murderous intent. Master, the 5 guards of the guard team died. 5 strong young men. John replied. 5, right. Lin Ke narrowed his eyes when he heard that. At this time, the teleportation array next to Azan had not disappeared, and he could go back to the abyss and use the abyss teleportation array to go to other places to kill people. Lin Ke, go back to the Great Wasteland City first. At this time, Garrow spoke in a deep voice, calling Lin Ke's thoughts back. He exhaled deeply and nodded. Return to the Great Wasteland City. The Great Wasteland Knights, led by Lin Ke, immediately charged towards the direction of the Great Wasteland City. On the way, they passed the empty Great Wall Fortress. Lin Ke came to the bottom of the Azan Wall, where there were still broken Azan flags. After feeling it for a while, he found that there was still a breath of legendary power here, more than one. Lin Ke's heart became heavier, and he quickly sped up. The Great Wilderness Knights charged, like a burst of lava, and like a meteorite falling from the sky, with a huge momentum. Next to the meteorite, there was a stream of water, but it was Garrow's and his 5 followers. It was not until he approached the Great Wilderness City that Lin Ke felt the murderous breath of the Azan Legion, and felt a little relieved. It seems that there is really no problem. Although the Emperor Wumian said that he didn't care about him as a member of the human race and the identity of his son-in-law, the Emperor Wumian seemed to take care of the Great Wilderness City. Near the Great Wilderness City, there was some thin fog on the periphery. People who didn't know might think that this was a normal morning fog in the forest, but Lin Ke knew that this was the warning line of the Misty Princess. As Lin Ke approached the Azan Avenue, the guards on the outermost arena in the big shopping mall discovered Lin Ke. At this time, it was Granny Zisei who was guarding the city. Granny Zisei sat on the rooftop of the arena, her wrinkled legs swinging outside, and she seemed to be humming a song. Lord Lin Ke, when she saw the Great Wilderness Knights galloping in the distance, and saw Lin Ke at the head, she immediately jumped up from the rooftop in surprise, and fell down like jumping off a building. Boom. An explosion sounded, and Granny Zisei created an explosion to reduce the impact of her own fall, and then landed steadily on the ground. However, this explosion hit a corner of the arena. So when Lin Ke approached, he saw the Great Wilderness City arena, one of the wonders, collapsed in front of him. Chapter 360 to the rapidly developing Great Wasteland City. Dahuang City, the top floor of Dahuang Tower. Lin Ke's face was full of laughter and tears, and behind him was Granny Zisei, who was smiling and hunched over. Master Lin Ke, I didn't want to do that either. Who knew the Colosseum was so fragile? Granny Zisei scratched her head in embarrassment, and then suddenly pointed at Velen behind her with her hands on her hips and said, it's all Velen's fault. Velen is the architect, he cut corners. Go to hell. Velen glared, how could I cut corners? The problem is that the mist of the Princess of Mist is too strong, so you blame me? The voice of the Princess of Mist came, full of tenderness and laughter. Velen shuddered instantly. No, I didn't say. Feeling the joyful atmosphere of the crowd, especially that his mother, aunt and others were all intact, Lin Ke finally breathed a sigh of relief. Although a lot of things happened, it seems safe now. Although the Colosseum is a spectacle, the materials used to build it were just ordinary stones, including the library. Father and mother, you should go back and rest first. Lin Ke looked to one side. Garrow's Furlong and Tower stood behind him. Okay, Lin Ke, you handle it yourself. We will go back to Azan Castle first. Garrows nodded to Lin Ke, knowing that Lin Ke had a lot of things to do at this time, and it just so happened that he needed to go back to deal with the affairs of Azan's territory. After Garrows and the others left, Lin Ke looked at his followers and pointed to the conference table next to him. Take a seat. He sat on the throne not far away. The throne was made of cement and steel bars, full of a strong industrial style. Lin Ke sat on the throne, his hands on the armrests, and his eyes burst into amazing white light. Suddenly, the throne originally made of cement and steel bars began to ooze out lava, and a noble emblem appeared on the top of the backrest, with a triangle on it, which was the organization of the Duke of Lava. As the Lord of the Great Wilderness and the Duke of Lava, such a throne represents his identity. At the same time, Lin Ke took out his lava scepter again, and the whole person became extremely majestic. Sure. At this time, a certain painter below was painting on a piece of asin paper. After a while, Lin Ke holding a scepter and sitting on a lava throne appeared on the paper. Master, it's done. The painter was a professional painter of the Great Wilderness newspaper. It's done. Lin Ke nodded. You can also take a seat. Okay. The painter pounded his chest and sat in a corner of the round conference table. There was an empty corner of the round table, which corresponded to Lin Ke on the throne. Report one by one. From left to right. Lin Ke pointed to Watson on the far left. Now his expression is much more casual. The photo he just drew for him is mainly to be published later, so he must keep a straight face. Now he put away the lava scepter, sat on the throne with ease, and rested his head with his right hand, looking very relaxed. Watson was now a muscular young man, with blonde hair and a handsome face. He looked young and confident, and of course, a little honest. Master Lin Ke, our union is developing very well at present. The workers in the factory are treated very well. The model workers for 3 consecutive terms have become workers. Watson began to report on the management of his subordinates. Watson was in charge of the industrial department in the city hall. Under his management and development, a large number of factories have been built densely between Azin and Dahuang City. Paper mills, glass factories, cement factories, watch workshops, silk factories, etc. For example, the silk factory uses the green silkworms that Lin Ke found in the lava swamp. The silk threads spit out by the green silkworms are strong and durable. If they are of the magic beast grade, they can even make special magic protective armor. Every day, a steady stream of goods are produced from the factory and transported to various stores in Assen for sale. Unfortunately, the road conditions in Assen are generally poor, and most of the time, transportation relies on the teleportation magic circle. Master, the personnel department is fine. We have taken in nearly 100,000 professionals, mainly from the company. Whether it is specialty products, food or fast-moving consumer goods such as milk tea, they have brought us huge income. After Watson, Bald Jack was mainly responsible for the personnel department, and he also opened several companies under Lin Ke's instruction. Think about it, these companies must be very profitable, especially for various nobles. Bald Jack, as Lin Ke's future capitalist, is already doing very well as a slave owner at this time. Most of the people in those companies are slaves enslaved by Bald Jack, and there is resentment in the company. However, this is also in Lin Ke's calculations and arrangements. They are just some enemies, and Lin Ke will not be soft-hearted. The next one is Mrs. Black Mountain. Master, the data of the business department is very good, or very good. Mrs. Black Mountain has the blood of wild boar people, and her figure sitting next to the round table can be said to be a mountain of meat. At present, more than 1,000 companies have been registered in the Great Wilderness City, including 660 individual businesses, most of which are engaged in foreign trade activities. In addition, Mrs. Black Mountain was no longer as cautious as she was when she first met Lin Ke. At the beginning, she was just a subordinate under Count Akali, but now she has become an important minister of commerce under Lin Ke, holding great power. Well, what about the Scarlet Wilderness? As his intelligence organization, the Scarlet Wilderness mainly faces people from the underground world, and Lin Ke still attaches great importance to it. Many times, the strong will easily ignore some mice and ants at their feet, and the Scarlet Wilderness has provided him with a lot of intelligence. So far, the distribution of the Scarlet Wilderness has spread all over Nassau, including the Ocean of Stars and Waves, the Everthrazen Council, and the Far West countries. Mrs. Black Mountain replied. So many? Lin Ke raised his eyebrows and straightened up. By the way, what happened in the past 3 years? Tell me more specifically. John and the others were also very curious. Although some things were said along the way, such as the attack on Dahuang City and the support of Ligwen Mobi and others, not much was said. So Hishan and the others looked at each other, and finally Hishan spoke. This is what happened. After Hishan's complete narration, plus the supplements of others, Lin Ke finally understood some major events that happened in the past 3 years. The mark tree developed by the Ministry of Agriculture. and various inventions and research. But the most important thing is the mark tree. Of course, Lin Ke also knew about the greatness of Emperor Wumian. He finally understood why everyone was so obedient in the abyss. It turned out that Emperor Wumian actually killed a level 30 master. Chapter 363, Nuclear Bomb. Wait a little longer. It seems that we can let go and do something big. Knowing the power of the sleepless emperor, Lin Ke's eyes lit up. In his previous life, when he was a student, Lin Ke hated those who were born with a silver spoon in their mouths. He hated the unfairness of fate and was angry at the inequality of the world. But later, he was relieved. Everyone's birth is uncertain, but when a person can jump out of the original class, it is already very good. People who were originally in the poverty class became low-income people, which is a jump. From low-income class to working class, this is also a jump. Those rich people were originally just rich, but their descendants jumped to the level of the richest on their basis, which is already very impressive. Similarly, a rural child, whose entire family's annual income is not as high as some working class's monthly salary, but has jumped to low income or working class, is also a kind of success. Not everyone has to jump to the rich and noble class to be successful. There are so many provinces, so many noble and wealthy descendants, and only a few of them eventually become the richest, which is enough to prove their strength. In his previous life, the young Lin Ke always felt that he lacked a platform, otherwise he would have been able to achieve so much. What is the result? In fact, the result is that countless people in extreme poverty, low income and working class complain about their level, do not work hard and strive, are not self-disciplined, watch short videos, read novels, and blame the society's involution. Ask yourself, how many people work hard when studying? Self-discipline? Do homework seriously? Listen to the class carefully? Even if you are admitted to a junior college, some people work hard to upgrade to a bachelor's degree. Even if you are admitted to a poor undergraduate, some people work hard to pass the postgraduate entrance examination in Tsinghua, Peking University, Jiaotong and Feudal University. But there are also people who eat, drink and have fun in college, while complaining about the unfairness of fate on their mobile phones. When others successfully counterattack through involution, they complain more about injustice, and think that they have connections and backstage, and attribute the reasons to birth, society, and the GUO family, and then continue to entertain themselves to death. Is involution right? No. It is definitely not good for society. It is a deformed way of competition. But at this time, should we consider giving up on ourselves? Or fighting hard? So, Lin Ke figured it out. He would not blame his parents for not having resources, but he would work hard to become a resource for future generations. He did not complain about internal circulation, capital, or society. The flower-growing family is fair enough. At least there is a road to heaven thrown to everyone at the beginning. Look at the long river of history and the difference between the East and the West. Not aristocracy, not capital, not officials. Who else can give you a road to heaven? So, Lin Ke began to work hard. In the end, he got a doctorate, taught himself a lot of knowledge in economics, biology, physics, computers, etc., and successfully became the so-called upper class. His parents are just two hard-working farmers, one farming and the other cooking in a township primary school. He has also met many people who are better than him with the help of his parents' resources, and he will not look down on them. Only by making rational use of all the resources around can one be a great man. It is extremely stupid and arrogant not to use the resources of one's own parents. In the end, Lin Ke has a good relationship with people, and people from both the lower and upper levels recognize him. And now, Lin Ke and Lin Ke are nominal husband and wife. Although they were not engaged, Lin Ke also recognized Lin Ke, just as Lin Ke recognized him more than 10 years ago. In this case, he would not be so foolish as to think that Emperor Wumian's resources should not be used, and he should be self-reliant and self-reliant. Since it is his father-in-law's resources, then use them reasonably. I will rely on him, but I will not depend on him. Regarding His Majesty Wumian, you should be careful not to indulge the staff. The reputation of Emperor Wumian cannot be tarnished. Thinking of this, Lin Ke warned everyone. He was afraid that, because of his relationship with Emperor Wumian, it would lead to the promotion of an unhealthy trend. 1 point of tolerance from the top will turn into 5 points of pride in the middle level and 10 points of arrogance from the bottom. Everyone was shocked and understood what Lin Ke meant. Go on. Lin Ke looked at the next person. Next, it was Granny Zase who spoke. We have already found 50 element on the periodic table, but the observation of atoms and electrons you mentioned will take some time, so the nuclear bomb may have to wait. Granny Zase directly dropped a bombshell. Lin Ke was stunned at first. Nuclear bomb? What does wait a little longer mean? Exclamation mark. Nuclear bombs are the weapons of destruction in the previous life, and they are considered the most powerful technological weapons ever shown. Not counting those theoretically, scientifically, and if allowed, such as star destroyers, laser beams, etc. Whether they are fantasies or theories, they have not been realized. Only nuclear bombs. Nuclear bombs are the peak of the destructive power of weapons that have been demonstrated in the previous life. For example, the highest temperature in human history was in Guangdao and Chanqi. In those two places, the surface temperature was between 15 and 4000, and everyone walking on the street at that time was an acquaintance. The temperature of some places on the surface of the sun is estimated to be only more than 6000, so these two places are simply warm little suns on Earth. This is a nuclear bomb. How long do you mean to wait a little longer? Lin Ke stuttered a little. Logically speaking, whether it is a legend or a god, the destructive power caused is much greater than that of a nuclear bomb. For example, Aofu was only level 19 at the beginning, and a divine thunder destroyed the world, and a small city might be left with nothing. And Aofu can come up with a big move like 7 or 8 divine thunders to destroy the world. Even for a strong person at level 15, if his elemental body is not made of water, fire, wind or other element, but uranium, then nuclear bombs may not be able to harm him. For example, after Lin Ke reaches level 15, he may not be able to withstand the radioactivity of nuclear bombs, but he may still be able to withstand high temperatures. However, these are all theories. Theoretically, if you swim in a magma sea, you can't feel the temperature, as long as you are fast enough. Before the nuclear bomb came out, Lin Ke couldn't estimate how this thing would shake Nassim. About 10 years. Granny Zase at the table looked at Lin Ke cautiously. How much? Lin Ke lost his voice. No. 5 years. 5 years. Oh, no, 3 years. Granny Zase shouted guiltily. Lin Ke was speechless and choked all of a sudden. He sat on the throne in a daze, staring at Granny Zase with wide eyes. Ahem. At this time, the fallen priest Kanako next to Granny Zase coughed and whispered, as for the research funds, there will be rewards for completing the project as soon as possible. But if there is no project, there will be no basic salary. I suspect that you have taken office as a slave owner. You hateful, big-breasted, long-legged, blood-sucking beautiful woman. Granny Zase immediately retorted to Kanako and accused her. Kanako raised her eyebrows. Thank you for the compliment, but the system remains unchanged. This is unreasonable. Granny Zase seemed to have forgotten what occasion it was at this time, and protested. Research projects need more funds. Do you need 30% of the research funds to buy milk tea and lipstick? 30% to watch dramas in the wonderful land and pre-order, and 25% to watch muscular men in the arena and give them tips? Kanako laughed twice without caring about the occasion, and her 2 lumps of fat trembled, and the branches trembled. Granny Zase blushed immediately, just like a wrinkled old chrysanthemum, and then she whispered, you are talking nonsense. That was done by my assistant, Little Blue, not me. Oh, that little assistant with 6-pack abs. He is quite handsome. Kanako chuckled. Lin Ke was almost petrified at this time. Granny Zase only needed 15% of the research funds to make a nuclear bomb. Chapter 364 Kanako's ability. Lin Ke first let out a long breath, then said, that's enough. Granny Zase and Kanako immediately stopped talking and sat at the table with a serious face. Lin Ke looked at Granny Zase. How is the situation in the science department? Granny Zase is a chemist and was appointed by Lin Ke as the head of the science department. There are many research projects at present, but the research funds are not so abundant. Well, it's enough in fact. Granny Zase timidly stated the situation under Lin Ke's gaze. Okay, then, how long will it take to make a nuclear bomb? I mean the fastest situation. Lin Ke looked at Granny Zase with a burning gaze, and the armrest that was bubbling with lava was just pinched by him. Feeling the seriousness, Granny Zase also straightened her face and said, 1 year. I have found the uranium element. But, 1 year. As long as it really only takes 1 year. Lin Ke suppressed a certain impulse in his heart and asked, but what? But, uranium seems to be within the range of the Holy Life Alliance. Granny Zase frowned and said, the Ministry of Commerce is also working hard, but it is difficult to obtain. Holy Life Alliance? Lin Ke narrowed his eyes when he heard it. Which tribe? The lava swamp borders the Holy Life Alliance and the Star and Wave Ocean. He has never had extra time to contact these two forces. Instead, the Star and Wave Ocean come from the coastline every few years to fight and train with the lava swamp to ensure the stability of the ecosystem. The Celtic Firecat tribe is 5,000 kilometers away from us. Granny Zase said, the uranium mines there are very developed, and those Firecats seem to use the radioactivity of uranium to upgrade their levels. Absorbing radioactivity? This is interesting. Lin Ke thought for a while before speaking. Well, I will deal with the uranium mines, and as for other aspects, Kanako, Montenegro, fully cooperate with Granny Zase. Okay. Kanako and Montenegro nodded in agreement. Then, Kanako spoke up on her own initiative. Dear Great Supreme Mr. Lava Duke. As soon as she opened her mouth, Kanako stood up on her own initiative and pounded her chest, making the Takanicus who were squeezed to the point of bursting sparkle. Rika was instantly alert and immediately straightened her chest, which was as flat as the Azan Plain. Seeing this, Kanako also stood up her cast giant mountain range. The adult tree herding banshee who had already achieved the body of law was defeated immediately. Ahem. Talk properly. Lin Ke coughed dryly. Kanako was the chief priest of the goddess of wealth at the beginning, and she also came to support during the Warcraft War. However, Lin Ke felt that Kanako was not working hard at the beginning, and later he directly instigated her to rebel. Kanako became a fallen priest, but it didn't affect her, because Lin Ke painted a big cake for her. The goddess of finance, or the goddess of economy and finance. This is the root of the goddess of wealth. Now, even the powerful neutral goddess of wealth, who is as powerful as the 26th level, has not said anything. Unlike the noble gentleman at the beginning, who couldn't keep his cool. The goddess of wealth has her own confidence, one of which is her antiquity. Antiquity means that her foundation is very deep, and there are several intelligent creatures in the planes under her command, who provide her with the power of faith. Perhaps she is more interested in Wumi and behind Lin Ke, so she did not act rashly. Up to now, Kanako, who was originally demoted to level 15 due to her fall, has become a level 20 high priest of divine fire. The divine fire has been ignited. Yes, my king. Kanako pounded her chest again to show respect. Lin Ke's eyes twitched. So Kanako licked her lips with her bright red tongue, and finally began to say, the bank has already negotiated with the royal family. Recently, it is expanding on the land of the lords in the kingdom. The lottery system is developing very rapidly. There are also many nobles interested in loan and investment businesses. Kanako slowly talked about the construction of the economic and financial system. The financial aspect includes banks, insurance, and investment and financing institutions. In terms of economy, the Great Wilderness Citizen Bank has also been established to conduct macro control of the market. In the past 3 years, Kanako has also controlled the financial power. However, Lin Ke was not worried at all and gave her enough power. Kanako knew that if she betrayed, Lin Ke could support the goddess of wealth. Lin Ke had the Emperor Wumi in behind her, so no one dared to do anything. Moreover, Kanako would not betray Lin Ke. After all, Lin Ke had instigated her to rebel, which was also a disguised way of saving her. There were many twists and turns in it, but she didn't tell Lin Ke. She made Lin Ke think that it was the credit of Lin Ke's knowledge, but it was not. Therefore, Kanako, who had been an orphan since childhood, could not betray Lin Ke. That's the general situation. Kanako ended her report. But everyone did not recover from this shock. So, we are so rich. Granny Zase said in a daze. Too rich. Kanako's report just now basically reported the financial situation of Dahuang City. What about trade imports and exports, gold and silver coins, foreign exchange, total bank deposits, lottery? It's terrible. Basically, the wealth in every aspect is in units of tens of thousands or hundreds of millions. Even Lin Ke was a little surprised. The economic and financial data of Dahuang City and Azan territory are almost the same as those of the top countries in the previous life. It must be said that where there are professionals, the flow of funds is also much faster. Looking at the surprised expressions of the crowd, Kanako was also quite proud. After all, this was also the result of her overall coordination. Yes, it seems that you have understood macroeconomics and microeconomics. I will write the books finance, banking and stocks for you as soon as possible. Lin Ke nodded slightly, and his mind was also lifted. If you have money, you can make a lot of investments. If you have money, you can also do a lot of research and development. In short, if you have money and have stable communication with the outside world, it means that Dahuang can become stronger and richer. Okay. Kanako was slightly happy to hear Lin Ke's words. Lin Ke looked at others again. We also need to write physics, chemistry, mathematics, etc. The current large library has a fantastic shell, but no corresponding content. It is time to fill it up. Lin Ke, the engineering department doesn't have much to do, but I've been working on the expansion and renovation of the Great Wasteland City. Velen's report was concise and simple, but he also put forward his own needs. However, I apply to replace the building materials of the wonders. They are too fragile. This time is not only a report, but also an opportunity to put forward requirements and demands to Lin Ke. The resources that they can't find, maybe Lin Ke can find them easily. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 365, Purple Fluorescent Crystal Mine. Building materials? Lin Ke's face darkened when he heard that, and he glanced at Granny Zase. He. Granny Zase scratched her head. Indeed, as a wonder, it's not good if it's too weak. Well, you still don't have any idea about magic cement, right? Lin Ke felt speechless. Granny Zase blew up the arena to show off. Who can he talk to? Granny Zase is poisonous. Her salary is obviously enough, but she always wants to cheat research funds. The research funds she cheated are not spent by herself. The places where she spent them, such as milk tea shops, are all opened by veterans, orphans and widows. She has love and kindness, but she chose to cheat research funds, which is speechless. Lin Ke didn't know what to say to Granny Zase. Magic cement? I don't have any idea for the time being. Velen shook his head. It's difficult to integrate magic element into those ordinary materials. Lin Ke also understood that magic cement is still quite difficult, and didn't embarrass Velen. Okay, what kind of material do you think is better? Lin Ke asked. As an architect, Velen can use his skills to replace all the materials of a building without changing the building. I have a plan. Do you want to see it now? Velen took out a notebook. Lin Ke moved his fingers immediately. Optical skill, scattering. Suddenly, words like projection appeared on the table in front of everyone. Let's take a look together. Lin Ke waved his hand, and under the effect of pressure, the book floated over. The followers could see that the words printed on the table were the plan in Velen's notebook, and immediately knew that this was a new skill that Lin Ke had learned in FASA. So, everyone started to look at the plan. I think this plan of casting with pure iron, silver and copper is very good. Haha, it's cool just to think about it. Lalita liked the pure metal plan, but the cost was relatively expensive. I think it's also good to use various elemental plants from the elemental forest to build it. Liquor also spoke. This one is not bad either. Huh. Using the leather armor of the golden rhinoceros? How many flamingos will have to be killed for this plan? Everyone looked at the plans one by one, and then evaluated them. Almost everyone has their own favorite plan. Of course, some of them are more favored and liked by everyone. For example, the arena is cast with metal, the shopping mall is best constructed with the gorgeous plants of the elemental forest, and the library is constructed with ore. Every room in the wonderful place can have its own characteristics. Finally, the plan was finalized. After the plan was finalized, Velen spoke again. You say. Lin Ke looked at Velen. Velen, as a friend of Gero's, said that he and Lin Ke had their own opinions, but Lin Ke would not completely regard Velen as a follower. What we lack most now is actually the purple fluorescent crystal. Velen's tone was a little helpless. This ore is also the main ore material for building the spire of our great wilderness tower. The construction of the four wonders must add a large amount of purple fluorescent crystal to form a magic circle. Can't buy it? Lin Ke frowned. He also knew that, after reaching a certain level, the purchasing power of money is actually weakened. The higher you go, the more common the phenomenon of bartering. It can be bought, but it's very rare. Without waiting for Lin Ke to continue asking, Velen said, as for the purple glow crystal veins, there are only small veins in the kingdom, where the Dark Feather Marquis in the west has them, but we asked him, and he is not willing to trade. The Dark Feather Marquis? Lin Ke raised his eyebrows when he heard this. One of the families in marriage with the Brando family? The eldest daughter of the previous generation of the Brando family was his aunt, Antoine Brando. But I heard from her that her father was a person who was keen on expanding his power through marriage and alliance. For example, the Marquis of the Giant Sword and the old Earl of Brando were also very familiar with each other. And the youngest daughter of the Dark Feather Marquis's family was married to Antoine's brother. Did you mention my aunt? Lin Ke asked. Yes, I did, but the Dark Feather Marquis was unwilling to sell. The conditions he needed were more stringent. He needed 3-star level divinities, and they also required darkness, wind and wood. Velen's face was also a little ugly. Well, are there any other mineral veins in other places? Lin Ke didn't think much about it after hearing this, and asked his aunt later. Yes, the Bandal Tiger tribe of the Holy Life Alliance also has this mineral vein, but no one of us can get in touch with them at present. Velen shook his head. They simply treat us as slaves, and we can't trade at all. He continued, there are no other mineral veins. The purple crystal veins are relatively rare, or they are not very useful, so not many people pay attention to them. Purple crystal is generally used as a raw material for some lightning weapons. However, purple crystal is too brittle, so it is generally used as an auxiliary material, not the main material. Except for common mineral veins such as gold, silver, copper and iron, most nobles and lords, when they find mineral veins, think of secretly mining and using them. Only a small number of unused mineral veins will choose to sell them. Like purple crystal, one is not powerful but rare, and the other is that it has too few uses, so not many people pay attention to it. So now, the most lacking is purple crystal. Well, maybe we can go and explore it when the time comes. Lin Ke didn't understand it very well, so he asked Velen. Well, I've been looking for it, but the scattered purple fluorescent crystals I collected are not enough, and I can only barely build the spire of the Great Wilderness Tower. Velen was also in a difficult situation. Okay, I'll find a way to do this. Lin Ke nodded, and then looked at the next person. Mathematician Juliu. Your Highness Lin Ke. Juliu was still a little nervous. Although she looked like a beautiful woman, her pair of pure eyes like a child and her nervous tone made people feel that the person sitting here was a little girl, rather than a star-level mathematician whose power broke through the legend. Well, don't be nervous. How is the development of the mathematics project going? Lin Ke asked gently. Speaking of mathematics, Juliu was much more relaxed. She breathed a sigh of relief, and then said, in the field of mathematics, with the help of your Highness Lin Ke, we have developed many disciplines such as number theory, topology. Everyone is very happy to be able to do research that they like, and we have also studied a lot of things. Julie reported ramblingly, or rather, it didn't seem like a report, but rather like a chat. But everyone was listening very seriously. Pure people can easily gain the respect and love of others. Especially people like Juliu, who study mathematics purely out of love. Chapter 366 Studying the Sleepless Body. But, we don't have a clue about the irrational numbers you mentioned. Speaking of mathematics, the light in Juliu's eyes is just like the blooming heather, full of vitality. Irrational numbers? Lin Ke understood. I will tell you after the meeting. Some things are like this. If you point it out, it's pointed out, and if you don't point it out, it may never be pointed out. Lin Ke looked at the next one. Laplace. Teacher, the physics, biology, geography and other research departments I'm responsible for are running well. There are currently 1,326 projects under research, and the projects in the process of approval are. Laplace is now a handsome man with deep eyes. The blood characteristics of the Marquis of Ice are reflected in him. For example, his gorgeous and handsome silver hair. Laplace reported quietly, and Lin Ke and others also clearly felt the rigor and seriousness of Laplace's report, and the data was also very specific. In general, Laplace is the person in charge of the Great Wilderness Tower, the application and use of various laboratories and rooms, the funding, income, and expenditure of the projects, etc. are all in charge of Laplace. The progress of each project was also memorized by him. The mark tree of the Ministry of Agriculture came from this. My report ends here. Laplace sat down, a little nervous. Very good, very good. Lin Ke nodded and clapped softly. I think Laplace's serious attitude in reporting is worth learning from. Obviously, Laplace counted the days and prepared for the report before Lin Ke returned, so all kinds of data were well organized. Of course, it's not to say that others are not good. Lin Ke's followers have been working hard for Lin Ke's career, but they are not like Laplace in these aspects. Laplace is the son of the Marquis of Ice. As the only son of the Marquis of Ice, the education he received is naturally incomparable to that of Granny Zisay and others. Others also learned some reporting skills from Laplace, and after preparing, they asked the people in their department to report in the same way. You're too kind, teacher. Laplace smiled and said, Teacher, in these studies, the truth researchers have thought of many directions. I don't know if they are meaningful. Some projects have not been passed, but I have kept the reports for you to read when you come back. Laplace mainly wanted to prevent omissions, because he knew what Lin Ke had told him before. In scientific research, many people are often blinded by the times, interests, emotions, etc. And those great sciences may take several generations to show their due magnificence. Therefore, Laplace kept many projects that were not passed, waiting for Lin Ke to watch. Of course, Laplace can still distinguish some projects that are nonsense. Many of them are just fraudulent funds. Most of the fraudulent funds projects are mainly from Granny Zisay, and more than a dozen projects can grow every month. For example, research on the reaction of water molecules mixed with various magical plant liquids. After reading the project application, Laplace translated it and thought it should be renamed Research on the Flavors and Ingredients of Various Milk Teas. This is not a scientific research experimental project at all, but a commercial experimental project. So, after eliminating many projects, Laplace kept the projects that he was not sure about, but seemed to have some reason and logic. Did you bring them? Anyway, Lin Ke planned to spend the whole day here today to deal with the affairs of Dahuang City. Whatever happened, he would deal with it. I brought them. Laplace took out a few file bags, and Lin Ke did the same, letting everyone watch. There are many research projects that have not been established, either because the research funds are too much, or because the research direction is too bizarre. For example, there is a truth researcher in the biology laboratory who wants to study the body of Emperor Wumian. This project makes sense. Every king of the kingdom of Gila, since the history of the kingdom of Gila was not bad. Either they were powerful lords of light, or sharp blades in the dark, and there were also some other lords of face, who were all intimidating. At the lowest point, the kingdom of Gila had no lords, only a group of legends to support it. At the strongest point, the kingdom of Gila had 5 lords to support it, standing out from the crowd. However, there has never been such a situation since ancient times. With only Emperor Wumian, the entire nation cannot lift his head. Even the ultimate belief of the eternal Twilight Continent, which is considered another plane eternal vision, cannot beat Wumian. This is only Emperor Wumian. Add the moon goddess and the 5-colored dragon mother, and there are 3 rulers in the kingdom of Gila. One of them is the Emperor Wumian, who is as strong as he can be. In addition, some people suspect that there must be other rulers in the kingdom of Gila in secret. The kingdom of Gila is simply standing at the pinnacle of history. Of course, the most unscientific is Emperor Wumian. Any king of Gila, including Gila in the mythological period, is not as powerful as Emperor Wumian. Then, this researcher has a reasonable suspicion. Emperor Wumian is so strong, could it be a mutation in the field of biology? This researcher proposed that, if the body cells of various parts of Emperor Wumian are cultured, studied, and analyzed at the biological level, for example, extracting the liver stem cells of Emperor Wumian, cultivating and studying them, perhaps it is possible to mass produce strong people like Emperor Wumian. Even in this project application, Lin Ke saw the early idea of cloning. The idea is good, the logic is great, and the funding is not much. But, oh my god. Studying the body of Emperor Wumian! Exclamation mark. This is no longer a question of logic or illogicality. This is clearly trying to kill him. Lin Ke. Ahem. Let's put this task about His Majesty on hold for now. Lin Ke coughed dryly and continued to work on other projects. Lin Ke also saw this project at this time and muttered to herself while reading it, it makes some sense. John, who was most familiar with Lin Ke, just felt like trembling. The young master said to put it on hold, not abandon it. John was thinking, when Lin Ke was slapped to death, how would he die in the line of duty, so that it would not look so ugly? At this time, Nick suddenly stood up. No, he stood directly on the chair. Because the table was high and the chair was low, Nick's was not tall, so he could only stand like this. Mr. Lin Ke, this is a feasible project. Nick widened his eyes and pointed at the project application titled Exploration of the Mystery of Wumian Gila's Body. I know, this is indeed worthy of study. I mean, His Majesty Wumian is the person I respect the most. People can't, or at least shouldn't, do this. Well, at least we can't say it so bluntly. Lin Ke answered earnestly. Chapter 367 High Project Research Funds. Listening to Lin Ke's words, everyone looked at him strangely. Do you want to hear what you are saying? For Emperor Wumian, the destruction of Dahuang City was just a matter of a slap, or even a word. Studying the body of Emperor Wumian. Even Granny Zase looked at the researcher's name meaningfully, indicating that she had learned something. No, that's not the case. Nix waved his hand and said excitedly, Master, I have an idea for a medical research project. Hearing this, Lin Ke raised his eyebrows. He also thought of it, and when he saw this project, he thought of organ cultivation. In the previous life, cloning was not allowed by morality and law. In Nasang, there are only situations that are not allowed by power. It was almost the same in the previous life, and power was the hard truth. Who can tell you the truth, if you can kill with a slap? Therefore, the medical cloning that Nix said actually existed in the previous life. That is organ cloning. For many major diseases, organ transplantation is the final outbreak. However, transplanting organs from others will have an immune response, while transplanting your own will not. Many rich people will save the umbilical cord blood of their children when they are born, just to deal with certain diseases that may appear in the future. There are also many diseases in Nasang, especially under the rendering of magic. Some bacteria and viruses have a stronger form, but so far, most of them have not had much impact. Of course, this is only for professionals. For ordinary people, the epidemic is still a problem. You are talking about organs, right? Okay. Lin Ke nodded to Nix. It can be extended to food later. Cultivate food. So, Nix, when the time comes, you will form a project team in the medical field and assign someone to study. The topic is, okay. Nix immediately recorded the project that Lin Ke said. After Lin Ke finished talking about the medical project, he looked at Uncle Mark, who was sitting for the first time and was still a little restrained. Uncle Mark was a person from the village of Aznan. Later, he was discovered to have a good talent, so Lin Ke let him enlighten him to study. Unexpectedly, he finally came up with something like the Mark tree. Uncle Mark, did you bring your Mark tree? Looking at Uncle Mark, Lin Ke wanted to see the fuse that triggered a storm. Mark tree. I've brought it. Master Lin Ke, I've brought it. Uncle Mark is only a level 6 farmer now, and he is a little nervous in such an occasion. It has nothing to do with his level, but because this is his first time entering Lin Ke's core circle. Lin Ke said at the beginning that, if he has achievements, he will make him a follower as soon as possible. I didn't expect it to be so fast. As a veteran, Uncle Mark's most respected person is Lin Ke. With trembling hands, he took out a seed and held it in his hand. The power of farmer in his body boiled and poured into the seed. Skill, growth hormone. Under his stimuli, the seed quickly sprouted, then grew upwards, and finally gradually turned into a small tree about 1.5 meters tall, covered with food, fruits, and melons. Lin Ke waved his hand, and the mark tree flew over. He picked something from it, looked at it, and tasted it. Crack. Lin Ke took a bite of the apple. The sugar, water, etc. are just like normal fruits and vegetables, sour and sweet. Not bad. Well, you also remember to set up the project. I heard that many people have ordered mark trees. You can adopt cloning, hydroponics and other methods. Lin Ke looked at Uncle Mark with approval. In the next direction, you can learn about cells and cell division. In the future, we can also discuss comparative experimental methods and genetic factors. Hearing these technical terms, Uncle Mark nodded excitedly. Okay, Master Lin Ke. Lin Ke put the mark tree aside and looked at the next scientific research project. In a row, Lin Ke and his followers had screamed out a lot of useful scientific research projects. He also provided financial support for some research directions that even Lin Ke was not sure about. For example, the lethality of steam. The power of steam has been verified in the previous life, but the use of steam was soon replaced by other energy sources. Some people have proposed that the power of steam and water is also very powerful. For example, if the water pressure is high enough, cutting diamonds is not a problem. For example, the effect of a person falling from a high altitude hitting the water surface and hitting the ground is almost the same. In short, this steam project is specious, and Lin Ke is unsure, so he decided to invest money first to try. Of course, many of the projects that Laplace brought out were electrical energy projects. For example, circuit research, research on the conversion of electrical energy into kinetic energy, etc. Electric energy, a clean energy source, is finally about to appear in NASA. In addition, there are many other scientific research projects exploring kinetic energy, potential energy, electrical energy, light energy, etc. Lin Ke approved all the good projects. After nearly 4 hours, even with Lin Ke's pragmatism and high efficiency, they just finished discussing these projects one by one. After calculation, it will cost nearly 60 billion ASM coins. This includes the purchase of laboratories, material purchases, personnel allocation, etc. The purchase of laboratories is the most expensive. The laboratories here are not like the previous life, where you can buy a piece of land to build a house, get some foreign equipment, and then cheat on funds. The laboratories in Dahuang City are generally purchased from small spaces opened up by legends and gods. For example, a small space full of flames, a small space full of water element. The price of a small space is not so easy to buy with Lin Ke's wealth. After all, it is quite difficult to open up a small space in the star world of the heavens. Legends are unwilling to open up unless they are in urgent need of money. Bartering seems too wasteful. If someone wants Lin Ke to exchange a legendary weapon, will he do it? He only has one Thunderist Powerball. Therefore, the funds required are particularly high. This is because the scientific researchers in Dahuang City are truly interested and passionate about it, and they put forward the lowest requirements. Unlike those experts and professors in the previous life, each one is better at cheating money, such as travel expenses and food expenses. In fact, many scientific research projects in Dahuang City, Lin Ke has seen, are actually far from enough. He guessed that those scientific researchers themselves saved money to do research. Just like the mathematicians in the past, Julie would rather eat less and wear less, but also buy a few durable paper and pens for research. So Lin Ke added it up and estimated that 100 billion ASM coins would not be enough. After conversion, it is estimated to be more than 200 billion. Alas, why can't these Warcraft kings open up small spaces? Lin Ke was a little sad, and then he looked at the Princess of Mist. Princess of Mist was a legendary warrior, but Lin Ke looked at her with horror. Sister Mist, I heard that your boyfriend came to the Great Wilderness. Lin Ke showed a face as if he was facing his own sister. Princess of Mist was confused and didn't know why she was talking about this in the middle of a meeting. If you have something to say, say it. Lin Ke glanced at Lin Ke, and Lin Ke immediately understood. Sister Lin Ke came to Princess of Mist, hugged Lin Ke's arm and shook it. For a moment, the sisters were in love. The monthly ticket sprint event is out. Please give me monthly tickets. Please give me monthly tickets. Chapter 368, Soul Manipulator Ruin. Princess Misty. She held Lin Ke's shoulder with a serious expression and looked into Lin Ke's eyes. Has your soul been replaced? Do you want me to ask Ruin to take a look? No. Lin Ke shook Misty's arm in a reproachful manner. Well, I see that Lin Ke and the others need a lot of small spaces. I remember Sister Misty. You. Princess Misty knew it immediately, and she looked at Lin Ke. At this time, Lin Ke and other followers were discussing other next projects. So cotton has been found, right? Yes, that milk tea is really delicious. I will connect with the resources of the Houston Plain. The weather is good today. Obviously, everyone's attention was on the two of them, so the things they talked about were irrelevant. So Princess Misty chuckled. Little Lin Ke, how about this? I have 3 small spaces that I opened up in my spare time. The main laws are water mist, psychedelic and water. Just transfer them to my card according to the market price. According to the market price? Lin Ke smiled. No problem. Market price? In his ears, the market price is about the same as the lowest price. Compared to bartering, it is best to pay money. Money does not necessarily represent precious things, but precious things can definitely be exchanged for money. Well, I have a friend who can do it, but I have to ask his opinion. Princess Misty said, if nothing unexpected happens, I will give birth to offspring with him. Boyfriend? Lin Ke was thoughtful. He heard from Lin Ke that it seemed to be a powerful legend, the child of a noble in the abyss, and the relationship with Princess Misty was very good. Legends, naturally, the more the better. Dahuang City does not have its own legend, but at least there was Aofu in the past. Princess Misty is not a person of Dahuang City after all. To be precise, she can be considered a person of Dahuang City, but not a follower of Lin Ke. He can't ask others to treat them unconditionally. It's good enough that she is willing to help them for Lin Ke's sake. By the way, he said he has something to tell you. Princess Misty looked at Lin Ke with a little vigilance and hesitant. It is said that Ruin likes men. Lin Ke remembered what Lin Ke had said to him. No matter what, I'll go see him when I have time. After all, he is a legend. Next, there were reports from other followers. In general, all departments of the city hall were running very well. Of course, there were many problems that needed to be solved. Scientific research, engineering, materials, laws, etc. Many of them had to wait for Lin Ke to make the final decision. The expansion of daily staff was also necessary. After all, the city was getting bigger and bigger, and the street office staff also had to be expanded, so it involved education issues. In short, there were a lot of things. As the Great Wasteland City seemed to expand to the surrounding areas, some development issues also made Lin Ke hesitate. The city needed to develop, but Lin Ke didn't want to destroy the original ecological environment such as the lava swamp. At present, the expansion of the Great Wasteland City was not too great, and it was mainly expanding to higher places. The grandeur of the skyscrapers in the previous life might reappear in the Great Wasteland City. But it was not enough, and the Great Wasteland City would soon usher in the second major development. For example, Lin Ke had been planning to build a second city. The lava swamp was too big. The site of the Great Wasteland City was just an insignificant grassland in the center, but it was also a metropolis that accommodated millions of people. Every year, there are a huge number of intelligent beings who want to enter the Great Wasteland City. Lin Ke also has to consider the people in the various secondary planes under his command in the future. Expansion. It must be expanded. Of course, this matter will be discussed later. At present, the capacity of the Great Wasteland City can still support it for a while. The most urgent task is that the 4 wonder buildings must be repaired as soon as possible. This is the facade, landmark, and signature building of the Great Wasteland City. In addition to symbolic significance, it also has practical significance. After a day of reporting, Lin Ke saw the soul manipulator Ruin the next day. Milk tea shop. Lin Ke has ordered milk tea and is waiting for the Princess of Mist. Behind him is John. To be honest, he didn't like milk tea in his previous life. It was too sweet and greasy. It was all saccharin. But the milk tea in the Great Wasteland City is all made of herbs and gila milk. Whether it is tea or fruit, it is very healthy. Drinking it even has benefits. Therefore, he, who originally liked dairy products, can now accept milk tea. While drinking milk tea, two people suddenly appeared in front of him without any warning. One is the Princess of Mist and the other is a man. This man was strange and handsome, with a high nose and crescent eyes. He looked at Lin Ke with a smile. Hello, little Lin Ke, this is the 25th level, soul manipulator, Ruin, the descendant of the Grand Duke of Hurricane, an extremely powerful legend. When he spoke, there was a faint tongue stud on the tip of Ruin's tongue, which was some unknown red crystal. Hello, your highness Ruin. Lin Ke was about to speak, but he saw Ruin's head quickly approaching him, and his nose touched his nose. Lin Ke was startled, and was about to move, but he couldn't move at all. Well, what a wonderful and artistic soul. What a pity, what a pity. Ruin stretched out his tender tongue, and gently touched Lin Ke's nose with the crystal on the tip of his tongue, his eyes full of regret. Lin Ke was immediately horrified, and the leader in his mind waved vigorously, and his consciousness suddenly became clear. At the same time, a faint scream rang in his ears, as if it was the wailing of a banshee. Wow. Lin Ke suddenly opened his eyes, and his pupils suddenly shrank. What's wrong, young master? John next to him felt that the professional power in Lin Ke suddenly boiled up, and he was a little puzzled. Lin Ke wiped the milky white milk tea on his lips, and was about to speak, when two people suddenly appeared in the seat in front of him without any warning. One was the Mist Princess, and the other was a man. The man looked strange and handsome, with a high nose tip and crescent eyes. He looked at Lin Ke with a smile. Hello, little Lin Ke. Hearing this, Lin Ke stood up, and looked at the young man in front of him. Are you Ruin? Yes, artist Ruin. I think our meeting is really a prelude to a beautiful poem. Ruin nodded slightly, looking elegant and calm. How is it possible? Exclamation mark. What is this? Skill? Illusion? Inception? Lin Ke frowned and looked at Ruin in front of him, his face gloomy. Lin Ke, he is just like that. At this time, the Princess of Mist said helplessly, Ruin likes to collect all kinds of souls to carve into artworks. Fortunately, you are Lika's boyfriend. In other words, if he was not Lika's boyfriend, Lin Ke might have already had his soul taken away and made into that artwork. Lin Ke looked at the Princess of Mist and then at Ruin. Ruin smiled slightly, his tone full of regret. I passed by Azan more than 10 years ago, but it was a pity that I didn't go to see you. Otherwise. What a pity, what a pity. Chapter 369 Plain Development. Well, hello, Zyro Lin Ke. Let me introduce myself again. I'm Ruin, the artist Ruin. Ruin stood up and pounded his chest to show mutual respect. Lin Ke narrowed his eyes and pounded his chest. Lin Ke Azan. Then he sat down and looked at Ruin. Your Highness Ruin, please don't treat me like this next time. So what if I treat you like this? Ruin's eyes were like crescents, as if he was smiling. My father is a Duke of Hurricane. Even if I kill you, do you think His Majesty Wu Me and will lose the Duke of Hurricane and the 25th level professional for you? Will the Emperor Wu Me in? Lin Ke thought of this question at the first moment, and then he exhaled deeply the next moment. Wrong. He was wrong. What he thought about at the first moment was how to rely on the Emperor Wu Mian, not how to become stronger to rely on himself. This is not right. Thank you. Lin Ke looked at Ruin and said these two words. No problem. Ruin's eyes were full of admiration. He took a sip of the milk tea on the table and continued. I found a plane here, not far away, and I also captured the master inside, named the gold-plated master. Now, how about selling this plane to you? A plane? A plane? Exclamation mark. Lin Ke was stunned. He found a plane here, captured the master inside, and then gave it to him? Oh my. This brother-in-law is a bit fierce. In an instant, the slight dissatisfaction just now was thrown behind Lin Ke's mind. If your brother-in-law licked your nose first, and then immediately gave you a set of luxurious European manners, would you still be angry? By the way, when the Princess of Mist first appeared, she seemed to want to kiss him. The couple really have some common interests. This is not very good. Lin Ke was stunned at first, and subconsciously wanted to be humble, but immediately added, ahem, thank you brother-in-law. He was still His Highness Ruwen in the last second, and the next second he was immediately brother-in-law. As the brother-in-law of the Princess of Mist, there is dignity, but there is no need to be too much. Brother-in-law? Ruwen raised his thin eyebrows, and looked at the Princess of Mist. Why? Is it embarrassing to have offspring with me? The Princess of Mist glanced at him, and said to Lin Ke, that plane is not far away, near the direction of Azan Castle. I discussed with Ruwen, and you are more proficient in this area, so we caught the master, and left the rest to you. It's okay to develop it, but I just want to ask about the benefits. Lin Ke asked the core question. Since it's a gift to you, it's completely a gift to you. When you become rich in the future, just give us some small things. The Princess of Mist waved her hand nonchalantly, and Ruwen nodded in agreement. Hearing this, Lin Ke hammered his chest again to express his sincere gratitude. This is a plane. He counted, and now he has 10 planes under his command, not counting Garros. Becoming a duke, the Kingdom of Gila will guarantee that each duke will be issued 10 planes, and they are at least medium-sized secondary planes. For example, when a person is a viscount, he has 1 plane. If he becomes a duke through the nobles evaluation, he will be given 9 more planes. However, Lin Ke has not received a plane from the beginning to the end, which means that this time the Kingdom of Gila will directly give him 10 planes. In addition, he also won the first place in this nobles evaluation. The reward for the first place is to enter the Fearless Tower for 1 year. This is only the above reward, not including the reward from the Emperor Wumian for their good performance this time. For example, the Houston plane that Lin Ke had always wanted, the Emperor Wumian promised to give it to him to express the face he earned for the Emperor Wumian and Phaser this time. In addition, Azan originally had several planes, as well as the prize of Garros. In fact, Lin Ke now has quite a few planes under his command. For example, Phaser, which can breed hundreds of gods, is already a top quality super large secondary plane, and it is possible to further become a main plane. So, when others are struggling, because they have no planes and no resources, Lin Ke is thinking about how to reasonably develop and save time. In addition to this plane, we will also develop the small space you mentioned, as soon as possible. As for the money, just put it into my Great Wilderness bank card. Princess Misty said, of course, if you are really short of money, forget it. I saw that you spent a lot of money in the Great Wilderness City yesterday. She was talking about the report meeting yesterday. Lin Ke spent hundreds of millions of Azan coins. It doesn't matter. This is also part of the cost. Lin Ke shook his head slowly, and then looked at Ruwen who was tasting milk tea. Brother-in-law, what type of small space can you make? Ruwen seemed to like milk tea very much. While drinking, he answered vaguely, me. The rules are mainly about control and absorption, but I see what I feel like. After all, I'm an artist. Artists don't emphasize that they are artists all day long. Lin Ke silently complained. Okay, I have met people and arranged things. Now, Lin Ke, I want to ask you something. Princess Misty's face rarely became serious, looking directly into Lin Ke's eyes. What? Lin Ke's heart shuddered. The dark girl also came to the Great Wasteland City to help. Princess Misty said, the dark girl has been gloomy since she was a child, and she is also withdrawn. She only likes to be alone, but she is kind. But, her brain is not the same as that of ordinary people. She seems to be only interested in becoming stronger. Misty didn't know how to describe it. After hesitating for a while, she continued, so, your butler Billis soul may require you to exchange it for a year in the Fearless Tower. A year in the Fearless Tower. This is the reward for the first place in the noble evaluation. Lin Ke learned from Lin Ke and others that the Fearless Tower is the best place to improve. There is almost endless feedback to be obtained there, and it is easier to be promoted because of it. Even the legends are no exception. The dark girl wants to go. It is difficult for normal legends to enter. Only a very small number of them can enter, and it is not limited to the human race. However, if the dark girl really wants it, Lin Ke will not refuse. Apart from other things, Lin Ke is not short of feedback, as long as he follows the steps. Even if he is short of feedback, Lin Ke will not refuse. After all, that is Butler Billy. When Lin Ke was a child, Garros was not around, and he grew up under the care of Butler Billy. Not to mention that Butler Billy had the skill of life saving, just to protect him. Not a relative, but better than a relative. Seeing that Lin Ke didn't react much, Princess Misty continued, besides, that's not the main thing. The main thing is. Before she finished speaking, Ruin took over the conversation with a bewitching smile on his face. The main thing is, the body and soul of the Gilded Lord. Do you want it? The body and soul of the Gilded Lord? The resurrection of Mr. Orth. Chapter 370. The dominant body. The moon goddess said that she could help Lin Ke revive AOF. But the cost is a legend, and the raw material consumption is a master. Lin Ke used to think it was extremely difficult. But since he came into contact with the god of the sky, Lin Ke felt that it was still possible. The master of the secondary plane is just the legendary level. That's it. That's all. It has to be said that Lin Ke's vision has improved, and he thinks it is not particularly difficult to revive teacher AOF. But in fact, it is rare for a master level existence to be born in the secondary plane. It can only be said that Fasa is indeed a gift from Wumi into Lin Ke, a great gift. Lin Ke not only trained the great wilderness knights in it, but also can obtain the resources of an entire plane in the future. This gift is not too heavy. The god of the sky is currently Lin Ke's best choice. He has reached the master level, was weakened by the nobles review this time, and was trapped in Fasa. However, Lin Ke currently has no confidence in capturing the god of the sky. He can only say that after a few years or more, when the god of the sky is weakened again, and they are stronger, they can capture him. You know, the cornerstone of the human race's strength is unity. The improvement of each person in the Great Wilderness Knights, after being combined into a whole, is doubled. Now Lin Ke can fight against strong men above level 15, and it will be limitless in a few years. But now there is an opportunity in front of Lin Ke. Ruin has captured the master of a secondary plane alone. Inevitably, Lin Ke's heart began to beat. If teacher Aofu is resurrected, the current situation of the Great Wilderness City can be improved to a certain extent. After all, Aofu is considered to be Lin Ke's power, while the Princess of Mist and others are not. They can only be regarded as foreign aid. And that is his teacher. He treats him as a relative, and he treats him as a relative. Lin Ke found that he couldn't wait for a second to resurrect Aofu. Looking at Ruin, who has a kind of enchanting beauty in front of him, Lin Ke suppressed his excitement and asked, "Brother-in-law, how can I get it?" "It's very simple." Ruin looked at Lin Ke with smiling eyes. "You just have to promise that in the future, your research, books, and newspapers on idealism, soul, and art in the Great Wilderness City will be open to me." "That's it?" Lin Ke was surprised. Let's not talk about the future. After all, he knows what will happen in the future. The research will become more and more fruitful, but he doesn't know how it will compare with the Fearless Tower. For now, although the current Great Wasteland City also has various inventions and research, it can't even compare with the Research Institute of the Gila Kingdom. You know, the Gila Research Institute has at least a few legends, and the skills and professions produced are very popular in the whole nation. At present, the Great Wasteland is far behind. What do you mean by that? Ruin shook his head and smiled and said, "You underestimate your Great Wasteland." But he didn't say much, just asked, "How is it?" "Deal." Lin Ke agreed without thinking. Not to mention how good the research in this area is, and how much it is worth. It is a rare thing to be bound to such a powerful legend. If the two sides come and go at any time, if the Great Wasteland City is in trouble, Lin Ke doesn't believe that Ruin will sit idly by. "Good, very good, you are worthy of being Lin Ke." Ruin smiled and licked his lips. This attitude looks even more beautiful than Lalita's charming beauty. Both Lin Ke and John were trembling. Then the two of them instantly realized that the person in front of them was a man. So John blushed, but Lin Ke said calmly, "Brother-in-law Ruin, I wonder when the Gilded Master can." "Go on, little cutie, haha." Ruin threw out a dark ball, with faint screams and wails on it. This ball is clearly a glass ball produced in Dahuang City. Can a glass ball seal the master? Lin Ke's hand trembled in fear, and the glass bowl almost fell. It's not the glass ball that seals the Gilded Master, it's me. Ruin smiled. That's it, little cutie. Don't forget your promise. As he said that, Ruin leaned forward at a very fast speed, gently kissed Lin Ke on the cheek, and by the way, he stretched out his tender little tongue and licked it with the red crystal, and then his body suddenly disappeared. Oh my. Lin Ke's scalp suddenly numbed, and goosebumps appeared all over his body. Don't mind. Princess Misty rolled her eyes helplessly. I'm used to it. I can't get angry anymore. Lin Ke was a little speechless. How can you feel at ease as a gay wife? Your man kissed you in front of you, sister. Lin Ke decided to let Lin Ke kiss her properly, after returning to calm her down. However, Lin Ke also knew that people like Ruin have been very common since ancient times. Just like some people like to eat coriander and some people don't like to eat it, this is determined deep in their hearts. Like him, no matter what, he is not interested in men. And Ruin, no matter what, he is not interested in women. Respect everyone's preferences. Don't think that others are monsters, abnormal, and twisted and deformed, just because they don't like to eat coriander. Of course, Ruin's teasing him like this is still too much, but this is just like many men teasing women. Maybe it's fun, but the teaser doesn't know that most of the teased parties only hate it, regardless of whether they are men or women. Lin Ke was a little speechless at this time, and decided that, when he became stronger in the future, he must severely suppress this guy, brother-in-law Ruin, and ravage him. Such a cute boy, give him a punch, and make him cry. Then I'm leaving too, Lin Ke. By the way, you must remember to let my mother revive AOF for you, when your father is present. You must remember. Otherwise, there may be other consequences. The expression of the Princess of Mist was also quite helpless. She finally explained a sentence, and then her body turned into white mist and dissipated. By the way, she also took the 2 cups of milk tea away. The biological mother of the Princess of Mist is the Moon Goddess. It seems that even the Princess of Mist knows that her mother is not easy to mess with, and knows that her mother is difficult to deal with. Of course, the Princess of Mist also knows that some of the things her mother did are not good, but they are good things for her children. It can only be said that as Lin Ke's half-sister, and as a middleman, she can only pretend not to know the feud between the Moon Goddess and Lin Ke must be present. It seems that, even if AOF is resurrected, there may be some tricks. Having such a mother-in-law, even though she is the second-ranked mother-in-law, is indeed quite difficult. Who cares? Lin Ke put aside the troublesome matter of the Moon Goddess and looked at the glass bowl in his hand. There were some faint golden spots in the bowl, and the faint screams and painful wails came from it. It seemed that the Gilded Master was suffering from some kind of torture. He is worthy of being the son of the Grand Duke of Hurricane. Even the toy glass bowl is so unique. Chapter 371. Although Lin Ke wanted to revive teacher Aofu immediately, he couldn't afford the price yet. The Moon Goddess said that she could help him revive Aofu using a master level body and soul as raw materials, and the labor cost was a legendary lore or godhead. The legendary lore and the legend can be said to be completely integrated. Perhaps only a legendary level butcher can strip the legendary lore from the legendary corpse, but the premise is that there must be a complete legendary corpse. As for the godhead, there are many gods in Phaser, and many have fallen. But the cunning master of the sky took back the godhead when those gods fell. As a friendly party, Lin Ke had not established a cooperative relationship with the sky gods at that time, so he couldn't get it. Later, they established a cooperative relationship. Even if they didn't fight, they wouldn't give it to him if he asked for it, so he didn't ask for it. So now Lin Ke can't get the godhead for a while. But later, Wu Mian will give Phaser to him, and he can go and ask for it. When the time comes, he will take the Mist Princess, Li Guanmabi, Mr. Noble and others in together. He doesn't believe that he can't get a godhead. If it really doesn't work, he will let Li Guanmabi and others slaughter the gods of Phaser, then buy a group of slaves, give them the godhood, recreate the gods, and leave one as the labor fee for the Moon Goddess. However, now that he has a dominant body and soul, Lin Ke can finally breathe a sigh of relief. He also instructed Laplace to pass on the research projects on souls and idealism mentioned by Ruin and set up the projects. In fact, he is also interested in related research, such as soul space. There was very little research on this in his previous life, or it can be said that the soul was a pseudoscience in his previous life. Now, the soul subject is a real subject that can be seen and touched, and it is a good opportunity to set up a project to study it. This is also a blind spot for Lin Ke. He had never thought about studying the soul before, or he thought about it, but he always felt that the research on the soul was a bit far away. Now think about it, even if it is far away, it doesn't matter. Science always requires money and time. Only one of them can easily result in a half effort with twice the result. When he came to the Great Wilderness Tower, Lin Ke went to the Institute of Mathematics by the way. Before, Juliu told him that there were many problems and bottlenecks in the research, and he needed to deal with them. The Institute of Mathematics was in the middle of the Great Wilderness Tower. Lin Ke took the magic-driven magic ladder to come here, found the room with the words Institute of Mathematics, and opened the door. Inside the door was not a room, but a small space with an area as large as a high-rise building. Compared with the small space, it might only be considered a macro space, which was larger than the space ring. But in it, there were all kinds of people walking through the concrete high-rise in front of them. Some of them held paper and pens, and some held books and rulers. They walked in a hurry and muttered to themselves, obviously immersed in their own world. Lin Ke looked at these people, young and old, who were full of enthusiasm for mathematics, and could not help but nod slowly. He walked into the building and went directly to the top floor. Along the way, he met all kinds of people who were thinking hard and writing furiously in the stairwell. If these researchers were not wearing clothes in the style of the Great Wilderness, Lin Ke would have thought that he had returned to high school and the postgraduate entrance examination era. Finally, Lin Ke came to the top floor. Here, Juliu and his team will calculate, think, and imagine the future path of mathematics, and then verify them one by one, or hand them over to the people below to verify. In short, what they need to think about is the outline and framework, and the researchers below will fill in the content. This room is very large, a conference room that can accommodate 50 or 60 people. More than a dozen mathematicians above level 15 are scattered on the tables, chairs, under the tables, and on the ceiling of the conference room. Some are discussing, some are calculating, and some are deducing and arguing. For example, the star level mathematician, Juliu, is floating in the air, using the ceiling as a desk, writing and drawing. In the conference room of more than a dozen people, some places are extremely noisy, and mathematicians are discussing at a very fast speed, with white light in their eyes, obviously engaging in some kind of collision of thoughts and using skills. And some places are extremely quiet, and skills are also used to form a kind of quiet barrier, in which various figures such as squares and trapezoids are floating. The whole conference room was in a mess, with draft papers flying everywhere. It was unclear which ones were waste paper, and which ones were useful. It felt like the large space that was originally only used for tables was now completely filled. When Lin Ke came in, no one saw him. Until someone who was calculating not far from the door accidentally looked up and saw Lin Ke. "Mr. Lin Ke, you're here," an old man with a white beard exclaimed in surprise, like a child seeing candy. Suddenly, the conference room was quiet. The next moment, more than a dozen pairs of eyes turned around at once, looking at Lin Ke with eyes as wise and terrifying as those of a Siberian husky. Wow, these people swarmed up, holding draft paper and pens, or a book or notebook in their hands. "Mr. Lin Ke, what do you think of this model? I always feel that something is missing." "Mr. Lin Ke, what is normal distribution? I have been thinking about its practical use. 0 and 1, 0 and -1, it's really amazing." "Mr. Lin Ke, your coordinate system seems to be able to measure a lot, but the meaning of y equals ax plus bx plus c." These researchers usually ask difficult questions that they have been thinking about for many days, and many of them are beyond the reach of the mathematicians present. Most of them are not difficult questions, but other people's brain power and knowledge are used in their own directions, so there is a feeling of being separated by mountains. However, this made Lin Ke's brain crash all of a sudden. Suddenly so many things were thrown to him, it was a bit messy, and he was confused. "Mr. Lin Ke, as a star level mathematician, Juliu relied on his brute magic to send other people to Lin Ke. Damn it, what is this woman doing? Hurry up and let Julio come, or I will duel with you. I came here first. I saw Mr. Lin Ke first. I will ask first. Go to hell. Several mathematicians huddled together, pulling each other's beards and faces, and were about to fight. Under the fluctuation of the atmosphere, the draft papers flew everywhere in this large conference room, and Lin Ke finally understood why the room was so messy. Stop. What are you doing? Julio turned around, frowned, and her beautiful eyes were full of majesty. Lin Ke breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that, although Julio is a woman, she is also quite prestigious. However, the next moment, Julio immediately pointed at the white-bearded old man and said, "Why, you want to duel with me? Whoever wins will ask first." The next moment, she rushed directly to the white-bearded old man, with a boiling breath on her body. So, a dozen people had a big melee. The weak level 14 Lin Ke was thrown away by the momentum of the giant river at the first moment without any mental preparation. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 372, Breakthrough in the Giant River. Mathematics Research Institute, top floor. Lin Ke sat at the conference table with a helpless look on his face, while the mathematicians sat at the table one by one, sitting upright. The mathematicians were not really fighting just now. When Lin Ke was thrown away, they quickly pulled him back, one by one like elementary school students who had made mistakes. But Lin Ke was not angry. Compared with many experts and professors in his previous life, who were beasts in human form, the mathematicians in front of him could be regarded as simple and pure. In fact, for rational numbers and irrational numbers, in simple terms, I think this way. Lin Ke did not waste time, and started calculating directly. The difference between rational numbers and irrational numbers is as follows. I think the most important point is that rational numbers can be written as finite or infinite recurring numbers, while irrational numbers can only be written as infinite non-recurring numbers. As soon as he finished speaking, the mathematicians fell into collective contemplation. Distinguish based on whether it is recurring or finite. After careful consideration, I have to say that Hessian is a relatively distinguishable and recognizable classification. Lin Ke continued, all rational numbers can be written as a ratio of two integers, while irrational numbers cannot be written as a ratio of two integers, and the ranges of the two are different. The rational number set is an extension of the integer set. Four of the operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, are all available in the rational number set. And rational numbers and irrational numbers are collectively called real numbers by me, and complex numbers other than real numbers are called imaginary numbers by me, and real numbers and imaginary numbers are composed of complex numbers. Lin Ke spoke very quickly, talking about the knowledge of numbers. Complex numbers, real numbers, rational numbers, integers, fractions, odd numbers, even numbers. Layers of logically rigorous classification diagrams about numbers slowly unfolded in the eyes of mathematicians. This is a complete and effective mathematical system. Generally speaking, things that form a system will not be formed from top to bottom at the beginning. In science, it is often a hammer here and a stick there, with some research results here and there, and finally these little results converge into the final system. Then from this more comprehensive system, the previous omissions are discovered. For example, the periodic table of element. It's not that they first proposed this thing and then started the experiment from hydrogen. It's that they experimented with scattered element and then discovered the rules. It's the same with mathematics. Someone studied positive integers and then found negative integers and decimals. It was like this step by step that formed one of the tall buildings of mathematics. Science is from the bottom up. So when Lin Ke proposed a complete classification concept from top to bottom, the mathematicians were surprised. Their terrifying brains immediately began to collide with various thoughts, and the conference room immediately fell into a small magic storm. Integers, prime numbers, analytic functions. This is one of the cornerstones of mathematics. I feel that each category can be extended to a suitable subject. Not only that, a legend may be born in each category. The mathematicians discussed it with great interest. Julio also asked Lin Ke at this time. Mr. Lin Ke, you told me a word before, and it seems to be pronounced. Julio didn't remember other things very clearly, but she remembered mathematics very clearly. Lin Ke nodded. I noticed that you haven't invented a compass yet, right? This is a tool for drawing circles. As for, it was born from the method of cutting a circle. Lin Ke began to explain, and used element to outline the shape of the Greek letter in the air is pi. In the previous life, is the ratio of the circumference of a circle to its diameter, generally represented by the Greek letter, and is a mathematical constant that is ubiquitous in mathematics and physics, is also equal to the ratio of the area of a circle to the square of its radius, and is the key value for accurately calculating geometric shapes such as the circumference of a circle, the area of a circle, and the volume of a sphere. In analysis, can be strictly defined as the smallest positive real number x that satisfies SI in x equals 0. But in NASing, there is no concept of pi yet, so this will be proposed by Lin Ke. Logically speaking, NASing and the previous life are two completely different universes. But mathematics, a subject about pure numbers, will not change. Physics, chemistry, biology, history, astronomy, etc. Many things will change with the changes in the universe, galaxies, and planets. But mathematics will not. Under certain conditions, 1 plus 1 equals 2, but not 3. This is the same, no matter which universe you change to. But physics and chemistry, perhaps just a slight change in the laws of the universe, will become completely unrecognizable. Therefore, mathematics is the cornerstone of science. But in the previous life, the definition of irrational numbers is infinite non-repeating decimals. The most representative of these is pi. Why did so many people in the previous life try to prove that pi is cyclical? For example, on August 17th, 2x21 in the previous life, a Swiss researcher used a supercomputer and spent 108 days to calculate pi to 62.8 trillion decimal places and still found that it was infinite and non-cyclic. At present, this is a number with no end. But once someone discovers that pi is cyclical or finite, the mathematical algorithm will collapse from the bottom, thus affecting every discipline of science. For example, high mathematics, including infinite approximation thinking such as calculus, is based on the method of cutting the circle. The same is true for physics. Formulas such as the gravitational field equations of general relativity will have problems, and so does Coulomb's law. Various conservation laws will also become invalid, and the scientific buildings built 400 years since Newton's time will be torn down and rebuilt, and the entire history of mankind will be rewritten. So, when Lin Ke proposed, the eyes of the Julio in front of her burst into a terrifying light. In front of her, a circle outlined by white light appeared. In a short moment, tens of thousands of lines appeared on the circle to divide the circle equally, and this number is still increasing. In just a dozen seconds, the circle in front of her was filled with those lines. I don't know how many parts it has been divided into. This is the abnormality of Julio attracted other mathematicians, and they looked over one by one. In the process, the breath of Julio became more and more intense, and the white light bursting from his eyes became more and more amazing. Lin Ke and the others did not move, standing there and watching. Many researchers in the Institute of Mathematics were alarmed by the breath of Julio, and countless elements in the entire small space rushed to Julio. A symbol appeared in Julio's glowing eyes, which was, I understand. Julio shouted softly, and the circle in front of her, that had been divided countless times, disappeared directly, but her body floated up. Lin Ke raised an eyebrow. Is this a breakthrough? Chapter 373 NASing's new law. The body of Julio floated up, and endless element flowed into her body. Lin Ke was afraid that there were not enough element in the small space, so he immediately took out a handful of magic crystals from the space ring and threw them to Julio. When Aofu broke through, the magic element in the entire small space were not enough for him to absorb, so he had to go back to NASing. But Lin Ke was poor at that time, and now Lin Ke has all kinds of supplies in the space ring at any time to deal with emergencies. During Julio's breakthrough, all the mathematicians had different expressions. excited, moved, sat, and so on. Juliu is the first mathematician in Nasan who has broken through purely because of mathematics in so many years. What does this mean? This means that you can reach legends by taking the path of mathematics. You don't have to study water and fire. You don't have to fight on the battlefield. You don't have to inherit top blood. Just exploring numbers can also become a legend. Teacher, our mathematics school finally has a legend. Woo woo woo. The white-bearded mathematician probably thought of his teacher and sat on the ground and cried like a child. Great. There is a way forward. We can all be promoted to legends. A middle-aged mathematician of level 19 was so excited that his face turned red. The mathematics I love has finally come out of the darkness. Mathematics has hope. Those who look down on me. Mr. Lin Ke is really smart. Those mathematics researchers rushed into the corridor one by one, or heard the words of their companions. No matter who they were excited by the breakthrough of the Great Flow River. After nearly 2 hours, the Great Flow River finally whistled and broke through to the legend. Bang! Her body shook slightly, and various symbols and numbers appeared around her. At the same time, Nasan's crystal wall also changed slightly. At the bottom of the abyss, the sleepless emperor was thinking about something with his eyes closed. When the crystal wall of Nasan changed, he opened his eyes. The Great Flow River broke through. The sleepless emperor's eyes were full of surprise, and then he smiled. How many surprises can this little guy Lin Ke give me? At the same time, at the center of the Holy Life Alliance, there is an altar made of stone bricks here, and above the altar there is a huge sun phantom burning fiercely. New law? Why is it Link again? This Damazan bloodline. A voice came from the sun phantom, and the flames on the sun phantom seemed to burn more vigorously. At the same time, countless strong men who paid attention to the crystal wall would find that a new law appeared in Nasan. It is called Link, the mathematical law of the Great Flow River. Laws named after people are very common, such as the Poro Boy Eater Sun law and the Gila Black and White law. But this time, 2 unfamiliar names appeared, and the mathematics after the 2 names also puzzled many people. Mathematics. What is mathematics? How come every word is the common language of Nasan, but it is incomprehensible when connected together? Fire is fire, the sun is the sun, and black and white is black and white. What is mathematics? Even the 2 people were a little strange. Lin Ke is not bad. The newly promoted Lava Duke of the Gila Kingdom, who has become famous, is actually just a lucky guy who has climbed up to Wumian in the eyes of many people. Not many people know about the giant river, but this is only part of it. The permafrost court is next to a small forest. A human who looks like a child is fiddling with ice ridges on the ground, forming triangles, and then writing something in the snow next to it. The small forest is very quiet at this time, but the small village composed of ice houses not far away is filled with panic shouting. But the child didn't care, and was still immersed in his own world. When the giant river broke through, the child looked up at the gloomy sky, and there seemed to be thousands of figures flowing in his eyes. However, at this moment, someone in the village not far away rushed towards him, and shouted to him, Risha, hurry, let's go. The boy named Risha turned around, and before he could react, he was picked up by the man, and carried on his back, and there were other people beside him. Dad, what's wrong? Risha's voice was full of calmness. The monsters are coming again. Risha's father's voice was full of anxiety, and there was also a kind of disappointment. Your mother and your brother have gone to hide in the city. I have been looking for you for a long time. Are you fiddling with that triangle again? While running, Risha's father wanted to slap Risha's butt. However, at this moment, 7 or 8 grey giant wolves suddenly appeared behind them, and howled at them. Oh no. Risha's father's face changed, and he wanted to speed up a bit. However, because of the wolf howling, he fell directly into the snow, and Risha also fell to the side. The giant wolves immediately pounced on them, opened their huge mouths with sharp teeth, and aimed at Risha and his father's throats. However, at this moment, a strong momentum suddenly rose from Risha's body, and several groups of wolves were immediately blown away. Risha's eyes were full of strange light, his body floated up, and he looked at the giant wolves with curiosity. The monsters have already possessed a certain degree of wisdom. After being thrown to the ground, the giant wolf felt the feeling of being stared at by a powerful professional after standing up. Flying is a skill that only beings above level 15 can possess. Being stared at by Risha, the giant wolves felt as if their bodies were being divided into triangles of different shapes by Risha's gaze. Oh woo. Several groups of giant wolves were terrified and ran away immediately. Risha landed after seeing the giant wolves running away and went to help his father up. You. Risha's father looked at his child with some doubts, feeling extremely unfamiliar. Dad, this is the geometry I told you about. I also became a geometer, but I don't have the skills. Risha looked at his father and scratched his head embarrassedly. Looking at the shy Risha, the father knew that this was his son. But you became a professional just by relying on those newspapers and magazines from Dahuang City that I bought for you? And you can even fly? Risha's father's voice was full of surprise, and then he was angry. Why didn't you tell us? Yes, Dad. Risha scratched his head. I told you before. Risha's father then remembered that Risha had wanted to follow the book and become a scholar or a professional, but he and his brother jointly rejected it. After all, they had no money. Although the cheapest as in paper was cheaper than parchment, it was not something they could afford at will. Knight was the first choice for people like them. For example, Risha's brother was a knight for a family and was already a 3rd level knight. Before, Risha said that he was a geometry scholar and upgraded to level 10, but his brother sneered at him. Are you kidding? The patriarch of the human family that his brother served was only a level 10 strongman, and his brother was level 10. So, Risha's father and others thought that Risha was addicted to the novels in the newspapers and magazines and beat him up. As for Risha, he couldn't control his power very well at that time, so he couldn't prove it. And he didn't want to prove it, because the novels in newspapers made a lot of sense. Wealth should not be revealed. So his family was kept in the dark. Now it seems my son is a strong man above level 10. Risha's father just felt a little dreamy. Dad, let's go to the city. Risha took his father and immediately took off into the air. I'm flying. Risha, how many people can you take flying? Risha's father was taken up and cheered in the sky. Dad, let's move to Dahuang City. Risha's voice also reached his father's ears. Chapter 374, a mathematical festival. Attracting talents. It's not just hot sand. Among the countless intelligent beings in Asing, as long as they have reached level 15 or above, or in other words, as long as they have touched the law, they can sense the general situation. Lin Ke, Juliu mathematical law. This is the new law discovered by Lin Ke and Juliu, and everyone who studies mathematics knows that they must have created a new system, and this system allows them to leave their names on the law. This news has excited the entire mathematics community. Lin Ke is not a legend, but Juliu is likely to be the first legendary mathematician in Asing. This means that the road of mathematics can lead to legend. Sure enough, the next small month's Great Wasteland monthly report was released, and the front page on it was that the mathematician, Juliu of the Great Wasteland City Mathematics Research Institute officially broke through the legend. So, those who study mathematics in Asing and those who are interested in mathematics began to go out one by one. Of course, this is limited to the mathematics community. For most professionals, it is just a legend and a brand new path, and most of them already have their own path. Some other curious people gave up after being exposed to mathematics for a few days. This thing is not for humans to learn. Well, at least it is not learned by professionals like Knight. Of course, many of them were also surprised that the name of this law was named after Lin Ke. You know, Lin Ke has not yet reached level 15. Before the outside world was turbulent, Lin Ke was discussing mathematical research topics with the newly broken Juliu, and studying which mathematics can be put into practical applications. At this time, Juliu had just broken through, and still looked simple and restrained, but his eyes were frighteningly bright. She looked at Lin Ke in front of the conference room, looked at the excited researchers around, and sighed. There is no real circle in this world. A circle is an infinity formation. If its sides become infinite, it will become more round to the naked eye. If the circle is calculated, it is not called a circle, but a trillion polygon. Lin Ke nodded slightly and said, of course, we must also pay attention to rigor. It is best not to use too absolute words in mathematical matters. I have calculated the decimal point of pi to 68 trillion digits, but I can't guarantee whether it has an end. Mathematics is a kind of logical thinking, not a stereotype thinking. Any mathematical knowledge can be questioned, verified, and calculated. As long as the logic is correct, the truth can be proved. Therefore, this is also the reason why the mathematical laws in countless universes will not change. Like the laws of physics, in some universes, flames absorb heat, water flows upwards, etc., all because some of the deepest physical laws are different. But mathematics is not. Lin Ke has always attached great importance to mathematics, and now it has given him rewards. In the star realms of the heavens, countless Chi and Geo are trapped in the starlight level, and cannot break through the natural chasm. For example, the son of the chief of the ice crystal giant deer in the Everfrizz Council is a figure of the same period as the Emperor Wumian, but has not yet broken through the legend. 99.9999% of the starlight level cannot break through the legend, and it is normal to be unable to break through. Under Lin Ke's teachings, the giant river broke through the legend, which is still very fortunate. Originally, the Great Wasteland City claimed that there was an ancestor of Azanan, who was called Crow, but he just traveled in the Star Realm and rarely came back. In addition, Aofu was considered a high-end combat force, but Aofu died. After that, Lin Ke also invited relatives from his mother-in-law's side, such as the Princess of Mist and the Dark Girl, to help. Even Li Guanmobi, the originator of the blacksmith, was invited. However, this is not the power cultivated by the Great Wasteland City itself. Now that there is a legend, and it is considered half a legend cultivated by himself, and the existence, that is completely bound to the Great Wasteland City, Lin Ke feels more at ease. Although the attack ability of the mathematician should not be as strong as that of the knight, it is more inclined to calculation, exploration, and research. But a legend is a legend after all. The Great Wasteland City finally has the power to shock the outside world again. After Lin Ke resurrects Orth, the Great Wasteland City will have 2 legends, plus Li Guanmobi who lives here, the Princess of Mist, the Dark Girl, and the Soul Manipulator Ruwen. The Great Wasteland City can even be compared to the top forces of some forces in the far west. If the Azan Legion that Azan Rigoros has formed for many years is included, at least the forces under Lin Ke's command can be completely comparable to a principality in terms of combat power. Thinking of this, Lin Ke looked at Juliu and asked, "You said that the skill you just learned is called?" Juliu was writing something on paper at this time, and he replied, "Yes." The others were immediately attracted by Juliu. This is a legendary skill. Compared with their ordinary mathematician skills, what is the difference? This skill mainly comes from your inspiration, Mr. Lin Ke. The process of building this skill is very simple. Juliu explained the requirements and process of building the skill. It was not easy for her to demonstrate. After all, she had just broken through the legendary level and did not have such precise control over her power. If she got involved with several people, it would be troublesome. However, Lin Ke successfully built this skill very quickly and released it. The Greek letter appeared in his eyes, and a faint 82-sided polygonal light rose above his head. In this process, Lin Ke felt that his thinking consciousness had been greatly strengthened. Looking around, some ordinary chairs and benches would have dense numbers. At the same time, the 82-sided polygon above his head emitted a violent wave, which then suddenly expanded and rushed to the surroundings. The mathematicians were fine and were not greatly affected. At most, they turned pale. But those mathematical researchers, some mathematicians of lower levels, were immediately thrown to the ground by this mental shock. A skillful mass mental attack. Lin Ke was quite surprised. Moreover, this skill seemed to consume less of his magic power, but consumed a little more mental power. The mental shockwave was also controllable. He could choose to release it or not. If it was released, the mental shock would be completed. Moreover, Lin Ke could feel that, if the skill was used well, it could also produce other effects, just like his pressure skill. A very good skill. Whether it was from the perspective of the changes contained in it, the potential for the future, or from the perspective of the consumed magic power and the generated attack power, it was a very good skill. After experimenting with this skill, Lin Ke also had other arrangements for the Great Flow River. Let's get ready. After the slave auction is over, we'll hold a mathematics conference. Mathematics conference? Yes, we are studying mathematics, which has countless puzzles, truths, and mysteries. We need talent. Lots and lots of talent. I've been revising my thesis recently, so I don't know if there will be a second chapter tonight. I'll update it after the thesis is finished. Chapter 375. Breaking news one after another. On this day, people were carrying out their activities as usual. Whether it was the slaves who were working hard to survive, or the nobles who were worried about whether to spend 5,000 gold coins to drink milk tea in Dahuang City for afternoon tea, they were all busy with their responsibilities and obligations. Of course, in addition to this, everyone was absorbing various information from the outside world. Among them, the most eye-catching one was that there was a new legend in Dahuang City. You know, legends are the existence that intimidates the entire continent. No matter which legend it is, they will leave traces of their past battles in Nasang and become well known. For example, the 8 Grand Dukes of the former Gira Kingdom were known to the entire Nasang in battle after battle. And now, a legend who is not particularly well known has appeared. The previous Aofu was also, and the current Julio is also. They are all the ascetic scholar legends, and they all belong to the scholar side. Unlike those professionals on the combat side, they often become famous on the continent because of various things. Of course, after the Gira Kingdom and several other major forces joined forces to protect ordinary people, this kind of battle is not so well known. Now, because of the role of the Great Wasteland newspaper, the legends of the two scholars, Aofu and Juliu, have made almost even some indifferent slaves remember these two names. Of course, everyone admires the high and mighty lava Duke Lin Ke, who has repeatedly made a big noise. Who is Juliu? He used to be a member of the mathematics school among the Gila researchers. Between the two mountains of the materialist school and the idealist school, he could only survive. In the entire school, there is not a single legend, and the strongest is only a star level. In the eyes of many strong people and nobles, this is just an ordinary small school. However, within a few years of arriving in the Great Wasteland City, he was promoted to a legend. In addition, the previous Aofu was the same. In the materialist school, most people thought that Aofu had probably died somewhere long ago. Who knew that he would appear, first became a star level, and then became a legend within a few years. And all of this is related to the man named Lin Ke. This makes people have to think about it. Thinking of Lin Ke's sudden rise at the age of 6, and turning himself from the heir of a viscount into the Duke of Lava in just over a decade, many people were actually tempted. Especially the star level. Those star level who were trapped in bottlenecks for hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of years were all thinking, maybe Lin Ke could also help them break through. In this case, the Great Wasteland City released various news one after another, and these news were more explosive than one, which directly made the Nasang people's heads hurt. Even many families, lords, chiefs, etc. began to call on their ancestors, friends, and heroes, and went to the Great Wasteland together with their friends. What news? First, Lin Ke returned, the slave auction, and then the breakthrough of the giant flow river, which caused a shock in the mathematical community. Then, Lin Ke invented all kinds of things at the rate of one invention every day. For example, what Lin Ke invented was called a bicycle. The bicycle, made of Baal fine iron, can completely replace the mount of the knight, and the knight can be completely liberated from the huge demand for mounts. This kind of bicycle has various grades, and will be auctioned at that slave auction. The second is the occupation auction. In Lin Ke, the mathematical laws of the Great Flow River, Lin Ke has expanded a series of occupations, and these occupations are all clearly defined as occupations that can be upgraded to legendary ones. For example, geometer, number theorist, topologist. Of course, Lin Ke has released these occupations for a purpose. In the future, Dahuang City will become the center of mathematics. These people who have taken up the profession of mathematics will eventually come to Dahuang City, because only Dahuang City can have the most advanced, most avant-garde and comprehensive research. In addition to occupations and Lin Ke's many inventions, there are many other things, like the godhood of gods, the divinity of stars, the laws of legends, etc. They are also released one after another, even including the magic pattern construction system established by Lin Ke in Phaser. In addition to this, the highlight is the right to jointly develop the plane. It has to be said that Lin Ke has too many planes. If they are all at the level of Phaser, it will probably take him a long time to develop them. But he has no choice. A dynamic balance needs to be maintained between resources and strength. He can't just focus on collecting resources, nor can he just focus on improving strength. So the best way is the inspiration given to him by Ruwen. He can develop jointly with others, and then divide the resources according to the situation. Nasing, there are many people, and there are few people. There are many planes, and there are few planes. There are few people who can participate in the development of planes, but there are many ordinary people. There are few planes for ordinary people and low-level professionals, and there are many planes for strong people. Therefore, Lin Ke decided to get the right to develop planes. According to the characteristics of the plane and the characteristics of each person, ASN coins will be given as a share, and this share can be exchanged for corresponding rewards. For example, if there is an elemental plane full of fire element, Lin Ke will summon fire-related professionals to enter the development together, and the final share can choose the products of the fire plane or the products of other planes. Use ASN coins as a general equivalent to measure the value of the plane development. Even ordinary people can enter some planes to exchange for the opportunity of enlightenment or other things. What kind of godhood and lore are all attracting high-level people in Nasm? However, this plane development right has made everyone from the top to the bottom of Nasm excited. Some high-level people have some planes that are not suitable. It is useless to develop them, and they cannot be traded. Those who are satisfied do not want to trade, and those who are dissatisfied do not need to trade. If we use this form to develop, it will be too cool. At the same time, the sleepless emperor of the Gila royal family also announced that he had reached a cooperation with the Duke of Lava and deposited his 2,358 planes with Lin Ke and operated them with the system established by Lin Ke. 2,385. Everyone was shocked by this number and at the same time excited about it. Opportunity. Everyone, every profession, every identity has an opportunity. Therefore, the explosive news of Dahuang City directly made the whole Nasm dizzy. Lin Ke's side also responded quickly and asked mathematicians and people from the city hall to come up with a set of effective systems and immediately announced to the public that after this captive auction, an auction will be held every big month. At the same time, Lin Ke also spent a lot of money to invite batches of materialists to build time and space teleportation arrays for Dahuang City. Dahuang City is about to be full. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.